right? When you kind of get put in this situation, you're at home and in the comfort of your home, or the comfort of your setup, you don't have your shoes kicked off, you don't have your graphics circled away, right? Your monitors. This is a completely different environment. So, this being game number one, I'm just going to chalk something like, hey, let's get game number one out of the way. Now we can kick things off racing, right?
Look, a big team that I'm looking at in terms of the pressure, the nerves perhaps, it's Sharkatini. They were a contestant at Wonkyland by clicks and pigs, and this is a team that they have what it takes. They've proven that they have what it takes, but I'm sensing a bit of that pressure. I'm sensing a bit of those land nerves. Now, the good news for Sharkatini is that they have all the record to play out, get top 25, and then if they make it through, they have a whole other 8 matches on Sunday to truly show what they're capable of.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big talking points over towards Wonkyland was confidence levels being clicks and eggs for whatever
Leute, lasst gerne mal ein Like da.
Hey, we're not even going to be late long.
Wir sind heute live aus Düsseldorf.
They're here, and now Sharkatini might be kind of all off guard because we can see in that early game how much respect they actually gave towards the way of clicks and eggs. They had one point, we were kind of looking at it like, whoa. Are Sharkatini even landed Wonky? They did eventually land, but they took like such little loot that clicks and eggs were kind of given almost the entire POI for free.
It's crazy too how long I felt like that fight went on.
Chat, wie geht's euch?
When we saw this game, you don't want to dig too much into those, but we saw this go a certain way, and to see this super long in the zone, and even in that situation where Shark was by himself, it's like, oh man, let's close up. Shark's like, oh hey Higgs, go down to 3 HP, hold on a minute. Everyone's like, wait, hold on, is he going to come back?
Jetzt noch im Live.
It's funny, when we were watching that, I remember Zeke was telling me, he was like, God, I think they're taking a little too long, like this fight is staggered out too long, and like it staggered out too long 10 minutes ago, right? Like they did way too long, this is not finishing, so the pressure, might be on both ends, but Click Saints are definitely looking more confident for now.
Obviously, one of the big talking points
Leute, schön, dass ihr da seid.
Lasst
gerne mal ein Like da.
One of those instances, of course, was Cooper and Reed versus Aders and Ritual. They did not fight in the early game, but we actually see both of those teams find themselves in the top 10, right? Cooper, Reed in 4th place right there. Aders and Ritual in 7th place. So,
Hi, Masters.
Both teams potentially kind of
Wie geht's dir?
splitting that split shot up towards the north side of the map. I know
Hi, Jakob.
we're kind of talking about it, hey, the days going bad for either one of us. I'm expecting the fight to be taken by.
Oh, hi Zimtschneck, ist ja auch da. Wie geht's dir?
I don't really expect it to happen, right?
I mean, I don't know, time will tell, but I'm seeing is a
Soll ich lieber Querformat oder Hochformat streamen?
leaderboard, so I'm curious to see if that trend's going to continue, or we might see things mix up a little bit as the day goes on.
Absolutely, and I wanted to focus here on Cami Hari, right? We saw that for a little bit, right back on high.
Du bist hingefahren, Zimtschneck.
Look, if I was a couple years ago and I'm, sitting down and I hear you come and tell me, hey, 2026, we're an international event.
Leute, wir haben 8 Zuschauer und nur 3 Likes, das kann doch nicht sein.
Lass
mal ein Like da. Jetzt kommt gleich, Spiel Nummer 2 kommt jetzt gleich.
Especially going to duos, we have seen them play a bit more high ground. We have seen them play a bit more aggressive. If you think back to Cami and Seti, they haven't been the strongest fighters, and now I am seeing a lot more confidence with this duo.
And you're talking about kind of controlling the high ground, but any single time we see one of our players kind of take high ground around the 8th zone, anytime we kind of fit into a view, they immediately turn your eyes to their material account, which is exactly what I did right here when it was the case.
Ich habe das Event gespielt, ich habe 3 Drachen und 2 Elefanten gekriegt, Leute. Wir wollen weltweit der beste Dick4 Brainwatch-Spieler werden. Ich brauche eure Hilfe dafür. Weil wenn wir auf der Rangliste auf 1 sind, dann sieht's gut aus. Aber Chat, ihr müsst mir helfen. Ich brauche eure besten Pets. Kriegen wir das hin? Oh, Masters, kannst du mir die bringen? Ich will die unbedingt uptraden. Bitte, bitte. Aber ich bin erst Sonntag Abend oder Montag erst wieder on.
Right, but the moment we not only just summit, right? It doesn't matter what stage the competition is. There's always a meta within that meta that develops. It's interesting that even in this game one.
Ich versuche so viele Miaus zu sammeln wie geht. Alles was Geld macht. Wir brauchen richtig geile Pets. Mindestens 500 B oder was? Also 500 auf jeden Fall.
Yeah, I mean the end games obviously.
Oh, ja, bitte hebt ihr auf, Masters, wirklich. Würde mir sehr helfen. Wir wollen erster Platz der Welt werden, okay?
Because Clicks and Higgs aren't landed over there at Wonky Lane, guess who's going to be uncontested? Yvonne Toyo over at Squiggly.
Ich habe heute auch noch einen getradet, heute Morgen noch. Ich habe jetzt 5 Meows in der Liste, wie heißt die Liste? Discord die Liste, bin ich auf Platz 2.
I'm going to shout out my man, Levin2K here, because we were talking to Pete yesterday, and there's this thing that, you know,
Sehr gut, Jakob, da freue ich
he
mich.
gets really confident, he goes in quickly to try and get a quick finish, but either he takes a big
Leute, ihr müsst mal den Live
loss,
teilen, bitte. Könnt ihr das
and
machen?
he has to heal up, Hoyo makes it there, they take the fight again, and they win it. You know, that's pretty standard, they get a bunch of eliminations over time, but you're in an international event, I mean, if you
Ich habe auch gerade einen Short
kind of
dazu reingestellt.
staggered situation, someone pulled, you know, ease from them after that. I think you gotta kind of just focus up, take the competition a bit more seriously.
Interesting stuff. I'm actually curious, you guys kind of
Sind noch da? Wo seid ihr hingefahren?
We actually have a listed from the beginning of the game. Let's take a look.
Jetzt geht's los, Leute.
It's keyboard player with double scroll wheel. Yeah. They have to slide kick us so they guarantee lose. Yeah. I'm trying to think, bro. Why are they doing this? Bro, because they want to have a good game one.
Leute, wir sind 11 Zuschauer, nur 5 Likes, das kann doch nicht sein. Alle mal durchliken, bitte.
I'm gonna throw a fake shot. Okay. Ready? Yeah, go. Stick punch. 40 cracks. No, not. Got me noise. Nice, man. Tini, go keep short.
Ja, Leute, guck mal, jetzt sind 15 Zuschauer. Lasst gerne mal ein Like und ein Abo da.
What's the best part of the land is immediately getting to hear directly from the players. Even in that moment, right? Like, what a crazy play. Hey, I'm setting up a fake shot. And you even saw their sharks like, oh, I heard it. Oh, you know it.
And you got to think, right, for Shark and TD, over the course of the rest of the weekend, they're going to be thinking about that. But every single time, they're going to get back and be like, wait a minute. Yeah, exactly. I think it's also pretty cool that we kind of listened in at a pretty pivotal part of that early game in the sense that Clits and Eggs were kind of confused where they were like, wait a minute, like, did they land here? Like, where? He was like, oh, I think one landed sure. They was like over there. So they actually didn't even kind of know what was going on. I mentioned that. I was like, wait a minute, are they even going to land there on them? So Clits and Eggs are kind of feeling the same sentiment.
Morgen ist ja auch wieder Live-Event, ne?
Shark TV had a very similar drop to Divish and Darn, who are, I mean, they're close to Monkey Land, but it's a completely different drop. When they were like in the same lane, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, where are they? It was the same confusion that Clicks and Higgs were having, but then the fight ended up staggering a lot. But as we saw in that overdrive play, I mean, that worked incredibly well. It got them a pick. They were putting in a 2v1, and Higgs did get dropped to maybe like 5-10 HP, but in the end, they won the fight, and that's really what matters.
Absolutely. So, guys, what do you think? Again, we're just trying to be in the top 25. We're trying to be in the upper half of the lobby after these 6 games, 5 more. What do we need to change for game number 2?
I mean, for a lot of these teams, it's got to be the early game. Obviously, there's also a lot of the teams who kind of had success in that game. But I feel like when we jumped into the game and watched for like a minute, there was like 98 players alive, super fast. I think that basically 5 teams instantly went down. Which is kind of to be expected because we know that there is a lot of teams that are kind of contesting each other around the map. The approach to the early game is going to be the difference for a lot of these teams.
Well, it's time to see if they can make those adaptations again. This is game number 2. Nobody put out for you. Jasper, for you.
Hey, game 1 did not disappoint, that is for sure, Jacob. I mean, I know that we were definitely expecting to see a little bit of those drawn out lines, the original starting points getting a little shaky, but it's going to be an uphill battle for some of these teams already.
Yeah, you kind of look at the Clicks and Shark fight over at Wonky Land. Even though Clicks didn't have the most phenomenal performance, they outplayed Shark and TD. Can that repeat? Game 2 is here, so let's jump right in. Leaderboard, you know, it's top 25 that get that qualification to Championship Sunday, and the bottom 25 have to do it again tomorrow. So you don't need to win every single game, you just need to do good enough.
For Muzz Sphinx, all they really want to win right now is the off-spawn contention. Nebs, Nate, the best of the punch, but not going to get to connect the shots. No lineup. Muzz, straight off into the building. We'll be able to gather some resources. So these two are going to have to meet head-on at a later point.
Yep. Now let's just kind of load up, give ourselves a little fair fight. Chap, Flixie, Romero and his duo. This is something that we caught very, very early on. I believe it was Chap that was able to get both of those eliminations, and then we saw him down later because of the third parties. Now it goes, they both grab their respective floor loadout against Flixie that gets the best of Romero first.
It's a tough breaking point right now for the Argentinians. They want to be left to try and pick up the pieces here from the Chap. It's not going to look to just prioritize keeping a little bit of a lockdown position here. They don't want to let Lewa escape. They would obviously love to have some more elimination points if possible. And not only that, but you gotta keep your head on the swivel in these lobbies. You can never stop anticipating a third party intervening.
Yeah, just all these contested fights all over the map. I saw some action going down in the feed as well for Latte. That's not too far away from here. Bianco, Dancer, Jonas, Fellows, they're the ones across from each other. And another one of those contested fights where, yes, they can go ahead and play aggressive towards one another, but in the early portions of this, they will at least want to give themselves a loadout so they're not playing mostly on luck.
But I'd argue that this is a much worse position currently for Jonas and for Lowe's because you have to remember, Yakko Panther, they've already had one solid lobby, and in a 6-game format for top 25, most of the heavy lifting has been completed. So now, for Lowe's and Jonas, they're going to be stuck having to try and escape, stay out of Panther and Yakko's line of sight. But Shark Team, they're going to get more aggressive right from the start. They have gotten their revenge here in this second lobby.
I wish Zeke would have asked them what they need to do different because it feels like they did exactly that. In game one, we saw them fly high. They didn't go to the closest drop marker down below, and that made it late to take over Wonky Land.
Chat, was ist los? Seid ihr eingeschlafen? Schreibt mal was rein.
The first down is there. Puts in a 2v1. You see him trying to make a play, but Taco finds it too little, too late. Shark and Teeny get their get back.
I understand that Teeny is definitely very strong when it comes to those third play opportunities, but sometimes you just gotta let Shark's natural instincts take over. That upfront and aggressive close combat sort of style is definitely going to work out in their favor because Blitz and Higgs, we even heard it in their call out briefly before this matchup started. They were expecting them to play it much more passive. They know that all you need is 1-2 good lobbies and you're through the top 25, and you don't want to be watching with your Blitz and Higgs currently because Sharktini, how many times have we seen them contested at Wonky Land? It's been happening all season long, Jacob. And sure, that was just in the EU department, but even at a global level, preventing Sharktini from converting an off-spawn into a top 5 finish, I would be a little worried about that.
Yeah, and you can kind of see right here, Vico now with the Frigid Fortress. Wondering maybe, where did Vico get that elimination while uncontested? But Taco, let me tell you, he actually took down Agers from Frigid Fortress, really playing a role in that fight. Noah Riley's going to go down. Rizal's going to be by himself. 1v2 situation. Well, let's see how good this map actually is.
What he can to try and get away, but Veloz looking to chase this one out. They need some kind of recovery point, but reason he might be running straight into the heart of where Yakko is currently based out, but Veloz might be forced to give up the chase. Don't want to expend too many resources too early on, especially when you know that the bombs currently belong to Panther and Yakko. The juice just isn't worth the squeeze. So Reason will manage to escape, but it might only be a temporary relief because Yakko and Panther, they might have a good idea of where exactly the solo's at.
Yeah, and you just got to be very cognizant of where the zone is actually pulling because right now,
That's Reason gerade.
you can kind of see the edge of it. So it seems like it might be pulling away from the first part of that. Only time will tell. Isaiah, Scary, going for their play. They already win their off-spawn fight, but that's not going to be enough. Engines wide. It looks like they're trying to sneak up on them. They already have their base secured, so it might not be the best idea. So I do like this out of Isaiah and Scary. Instead of trying to push in a fight that you might not need, they go ahead and disengage and continue their game.
ELP, unfortunately, a victim of Thomas HP and Focus. That one elimination, we're trying to propel them forward as they're looking to get the secondary component. LB Words just barely managing to get away, but it's only going to be a short-lived instance. Focus and Thomas, a little bit of a run back and see how exactly that ball throws. see it. Unfortunately, yeah, Tom is just too quick with it, waiting on that opposite angle.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, is that a part of their strategy after kind of realizing in game one, we might need to get a little bit more aggressive for sure.
Leute, lasst gerne mal ein Like da, würde ich mich sehr freuen.
But Thomas focused from Riptide for that elimination. They're already on the move. Sky and Troll as well from the north side of Battlewood. They did exactly what
Danke für das Like.
they should have done. Switched up their game plan. What they were doing should not have worked. And now Sky and Troll.
Also ich bin mir nicht ganz sicher, ob ich den Chat noch sehen kann oder der ist eingefroren, keine Ahnung. Schreibt mal bitte was rein, ich will mal gucken, ob der Chat noch geht.
This lobby is moving at a different pace entirely, and they don't want to be left behind. Staying one step ahead of the pack is always going to be difficult, though, especially the way these other teams are playing. Hobby and Avinish, after that first game performance, they found themselves just inside of the top 10, and they're looking to hold on to that position.
Don't stop. Trap and Flixie from one to the next. They win their off-spawn fight. And sure, essentially, that new Sanctuary will be uncontested in themselves, but after that, see them rotating out through the tunnel. They put themselves in a 2v1 situation. That is going to be the only one down below, and there's really no option. They closed off each end. They're really trying to make their numbers advantage work, pressuring in zone after zone. Nutty's trying to go ahead and run way down. This might be his only chance at survival.
Flixie sent a little bit further back than what it originally intended there, but Chad's going to chase cut off yet again by the top of that tunnel. And that might have been just enough delay, not even slip away. But even still, Jacob, relatively low on materials, doesn't have any metal, needs to get a reboot on board that setup. And there are other teams still looking to try and enter new Sanctuary, whether or not they're also a team that's hurting for some more material, looking to try and refarm some of those elements. It's not going to be very easy for Nutty to find this reboot anytime soon.
Yeah, Trap and Flixie though, I like that lack of desperation for that elimination. They say, hey, he's going in new Sanctuary, he's going to have to come out eventually, and they're just going to wait instead of waiting, moving in and possibly getting lurked, just like Janus and Cheat do it here to Controller. Amon, I'm not sure if he's there anywhere nearby, but he desperately needs to get some sort of a signal because they are gearing up right now to break through the wood. Land a good shot on his Controller. He got the signal just a little too late. He's in the box, but not trying to let him out. And they do not let it happen. That first knock, that was going to be easy. Amon is almost nowhere in sight. So for Cheat and Janus, that was a free elimination.
Definitely need to start establishing some territory pretty soon here. Mondo stuck inside of their surge base, but if he's that high up, Jacob, you have to wonder how exactly were Cheat and Giannis able to slip by the watchtower, and now Amon forced to try and figure out, do I stick around? Am I going to be able to disengage? Or will I just be lit up the moment that I try to escape my position?
I will say the saving grace though for him is the zone is pulling away from that spot. So eventually, everybody will have to go and he'll get at least a chance at that reboot card, but you can kind of see in Cheat's inventory literally seconds before he advantages in there. So you can see they're lacking a ton of loot. That elimination's got to help them tenfold. Jump on our winners of game one, 101 points, Cold and Rapid. They said, hey, this one for them was a little easy. They got high ground. I don't think anybody had a chance to look up.
They were playing that first lobby as if it was an opening statement. It did not seem like it was a Summit Major Land appearance because they just had so much control and they never once hesitated with any of their decisions. So the composure very clearly matching their mentality right now. The Yuma, Toyota, scenes over by Frigid Fortress, heating up pretty soon here. Toyota doing what he can to try and stay out the line of sight there from Pico and Malapuka. You know, they're like to be lurking. Rapid Holdo, they might just talk to the completely off guard, completely sandwiching this duo. They're both so low on HP, and Rapid knows there's only one good shot left to make this elimination happen.
Yeah, Cold, Rapid. That was feels like they chased these guys down in game one. That's how they're able to get the early surge and elimination, and they're trying to stick to the game plan. Zone's moving over towards the northwestern part of the map, so as soon as they can find this elimination here and clear a path, they won't have much to worry about outside Reed Cooper. We're at Latte Landing. They know they have their long launch pad then, so they're not in a rush either. And this is kind of the meta this season with the Shockwaves, with the Gauntlets. You can go ahead and travel a long distance in a short time. So you're seeing with the surge changes coming in, more and more teams staying inside the zone early on.
But the bigger issue that was building there was where Cooper was actually based at. He had the full cutoff point there for Yu-Gi-Oh! He's forcing them to rotate through painted pawns, and eventually they're going to run straight into where Hector and Panzer were at just to try and evade two other duos. So it's not like they have a backup path in front of them. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Pollo, they're also taking a little bit more of a scenic tour. They definitely want to start trying to build a little bit more cushions on the points department because, hey, it's not what we would anticipate to see this duo after that first lock.
Yeah, and underneath, Venno Curve just rotating on by. Thought for a second, maybe they're just lurking around, but no, you just can't freely pass Peterbot and Pollo when they're that high in the sky. They got a huge vision advantage over everybody else. And Venno Curve sneaking by, making sure they don't take a single shot of damage on top. Peterbot and Pollo, they're getting the Fizz, the Shockwave, that's out there. Going to make it to zone. Alex and Reckless, they move in to the far eastern side of the map over towards Sandy Strip. And typically for teams that do land on the outskirts, they do rotate into POIs just like Sandy Strip to go ahead and replenish what they're missing from their top.
One above, one below, Reckless on the rooftop. Alex now starting to rotate back through his newest building. As Reed and Cooper checking back in on them. What's been brewing here at Latte Landing, recognizing the fact that they haven't been taking that immediate engage with Angels and Rachel. These two teams from NAC and I'm just recognizing the fact that maybe we play to our own strengths before we look to try and take out the other.
Yeah, this is one of those spots I've been talking about, Latte Landing. There's a launch pad back here that takes you higher and further than most of the other launch pads on the map. And then you mix it with the Flowberry Fizz like you see Reed and Cooper doing there. You almost fly so high you're out of record distance. And Peterbot and Pollo, they can get that same chance. It didn't work out in the same manner. They end up with stuff underneath, but it's not just them. It's not just Earth and Venom, we're also nearby. There are 3 teams directly here with 2 more on the outskirts.
This isn't the first time that we've seen Pete and Oreo essentially get cut off by Venom and Gurr. I don't know what Venom has been getting up to, but it really feels like he's got a lot of cutoff points set up specifically to engage with Pete and Oreo. Could be pre-firing that we are only in game 2 after all, Jacob, but Venom, Gurr, they got their damage and now they're getting out.
Into the tunnel, they have that secret porta potty. Go ahead and teleport themselves through to Peterbot and Pollo, continuing to try to move towards the west. And that's Ari and Candy there on the other side. And they were honestly disruptors of that last game, probably being a huge focal point of why Peterbot and Pollo got down. I'm not sure if this is an act of revenge or just maybe early damage towards Storm Surge. Either way, Peterbot looks to not slow down here.
Pollo definitely been very aggressive, and that's exactly why 143 below on surge damage, and they keep taking these odd shots over at Candy and Adi. They're bound to look to fight back here. Adi literally getting the finish there onto Peterbot, but the tags exchange from both ends. It's going to mean that Pete has to step back. Pollo now going to take over that aggressive from Pollo. Needs another decent contact there from Adi. Candy doing a great job of just keeping everything closed off.
Yeah, you see, they got what they wanted. They won the exchange for the most part, but they get caught lacking. Peterbot not missing a shot, getting that first down on the Ari. But you see, Tucker, they're still 27 below the damage threshold. They needed more than just a 4 elimination worth of damage, so they have to continue to be on the hunt. Right now, it looks like they're looking for Cammy.
Was geht bei euch?
Plenty of opportunities right in front of us.
Niemand like da. Also entweder ist mein Chat eingefroren und ich kann es nicht mehr sehen oder ihr schreibt nichts. Könnt ihr mal zum Test was schreiben? Ich weiß nicht, ob es noch geht.
It's a 5-tick song, there's no more heal. He has to figure it out. Perfect, he gets in the zone, the elimination to Cammy, the Cypher comes in, and now they have a Fizz. They are above the damage threshold, Tucker. When you look at their logo, they're in desperate need of loot.
Might be able to clash with a handful more teams. All depends on whether or not they actually want to try and make some sort of side approach. Also have to remember that there are going to be other duos looking to try and scale up this mountain phase. The zone done by Wonky can be very brutal to actually retain any sort of materials, but when you are a duo that's already clinging on to just those last little bits of scraps, Chino, Pablo, kind of a similar position here. They might have a little bit of damage to be just above for the moment, but Will that stay true?
And the next zone, that's going to get flipped upside down.
Also irgendwie wird mir mein Chat nicht mehr angezeigt. Irgendwie geht er nicht weiter.
You said it yourself, making up and scaling the summit here is going to be near impossible. Only the best will survive. Scroll, Sky, they see them down to just one individual. Sky needs below the damage threshold. 132, essentially needing an elimination, and he needs it now. Storm Surge will activate. He will take that 25 damage every 7 seconds.
Probably happy to just be leeching off the sides, just flurry this grenade, but first can he break out away from sides? Look at that, sees there is a solo behind me. He might be able to get the cutoff point, but instead, recognizing I just gotta keep things moving forward. Such a low material count here though, Jake. If you can find that solo, if you can get that elimination, the refresh will buy him so much time instead of having to
Jetzt geht mein Chat wieder. Melanie, was geht? Jetzt geht mein Chat wieder, Leute. Jetzt könnt ihr wieder.
Sky is so trapped right now. Nico and Malabuka definitely slipped down his position, but they also know why take a risk? They have the option, the opportunity to try and make their way towards the next high ground.
Das war knapp, jetzt habe ich mich fast gezeigt.
Another siphon to bail him out momentarily, but Strokey, he might just be the one to shut Sky's fate down to the limit here. And Sky can't continue working his way up. He's out of this moment. At least got free elimination.
Yeah, even though those eliminations were good, he just got no mobility from it, and that's what eventually causes.
Lazy, schreib mal bitte ein bisschen was rein. Mal gucken, ob der Chat weiterläuft.
25 teams left in this game. That means placement points are starting to play a role. And with every team that falls, they'll cascade further and further until you get that victory royale. And obviously, eliminations make the difference throughout the test of time. And FNC has seen it play a role multiple times.
Yes, he's on the high ground currently. It's Acorn and Bolt, and this is practically their backyard. Starting off over by Storm Station, they haven't really had to move too far away from home, and almost 1,300 damage above. They are completely smothering this lobby and not allowing anybody to even remotely consider trying to challenge them on height. All they've got to do is keep spraying out that secondary height layer, and even the duos are trying to see if they can overcome their way forward. They're just getting cut off entirely. Bolt and Acorn, along with the rest of the lobby, catastrophe is taking place. No one can survive.
Yeah, as you see, going off the side of the mountain again, going down, maybe a little bit of hills and maybe Pablo, Gino, you see they have every break material, no extra heal. Even though Storm Surge is no longer hurting this game, it's about where they're going to get the elimination. And Kinuo from the flank is able to get one. He gets back by himself to make miracles happen.
Hey, better than a last minute bill, and what else could you possibly ask for than getting those points delivered at your front door? Malabuka, now looking to see if they can have possible challenge here on high. Malabuka still looking for the drop, but it's momentary. You see Tyler, added too many duos. A bit too close for comfort here. Malabuka without any material is waiting to see if Pico can actually play catch up, but Pico left behind. He's just got to find his own elimination here. A refresh is everything currently, and there's no one in front of him.
This is absolutely perfect. No material left. Even with the folks still alive, they reunite finally back in the same car. But this is where they need elimination. The zone is going to push some players over, not directly in the path, but give them a chance, just like that. And much of the healing was found by Malabuka.
Yapko fans are still doing their thing though. 5 eliminations already for Yapko, 6 in total for this duo, but they know there's still a team hanging out all the way to the high ground, looking for a chance to chop. First, we're going to bring down Giannis. Next, they're going to look towards Victor D. See if they can chop out his foot, but they just barely managing to escape in the moment. Acorn and Bolts, though, just look at what they are doing to the rest of this lobby. They are forcing all of these teams that are beat them to just burrow underground.
Look how many builds they have, Russell, because it's going over their mountain. Yes, I've said it. Acorn and Bolts, they claim this mountain. They pulls up toward this drop spot, and they are not letting up off the gas. This is their perfect opportunity. Not only climb up that leaderboard, but potentially take first. But there's still so many ways to be able to start. TV still alive. Vico fighting for every inch in this game against the down on the bar. The siphon is needed by Vico, but the onslaught won't stop.
Melanie, schreib mal bitte ein bisschen was rein. Ich muss mal im Chat ein bisschen belegen.
Rico's rise.
Sehr, sehr geil von dir. Würde mich sehr freuen.
Opportunity and now playing catch up to the rest of the lobby.
Selbst wenn das ABC ist, ist mir ganz egal. Ja,
Are going to be the first to catch up to him. Bolt Acorn still causing so much of a delay though in terms of where Yakko goes next. He's forced to jump, trying to stay out of the line of sight, trying to see if he can huddle underneath some of these leftover builds, but Bolt, Acorn, they're taking their sweet time. They know that there's a handful of solos underneath them, so why rush it as Rico's clearing out the lobby all by himself?
Still trying to find more eliminations here. Top 3, mostly placement points, but essentially
Endgame
2
jetzt.
solos against the duo of Acorn and Bolt.
4 Leute am Leben.
Down the mountain again. A perfect scenario for Rico to stay alive just a little bit longer to get that top 2 situation. But now what do? You're going against Acorn and Bolt. They have 6
Striking
eliminations. They have tons of materials. They have 2 different win conditions because if they want to wait until the last zone, they can shotgun out and win by Elon.
Look, I am all for everything that Rico has been able to accomplish in this lobby so far, Jacob. The fact that he has converted this into a second place opportunity for him and Alabuca is incredible scenery. But now, with the flag, Rico is left trying to just stay in alert position. Bolt is off on the hunt, but he's still staying right next to Acorn side. They just have so much white heal and ammunition. They don't need to rush it. Rico only has so many more options before he completely runs out of space to work with. As Acorn Bolts, they continue to spray away at the builds. Rico doing everything in his power to try and stay alive, but I fear we are only watching the inevitable unfold here, Jacob. Rico might be able to try and shift things up, but he's going to need to pull out all the stops here, and it doesn't look like it'll be enough. This Bolts finally going in with a closing shot elimination.
Das war geil.
Yeah, very ecstatic. We still don't accept, but of course, Acorn was doing very well. Nice light torques, and we're one of the best duos in the world, so nothing's going to stop us.
You're looking like it. Ain't got sometimes the commentators say that you take a little bit of time to warm up on day one.
Stranger, ja, mir geht's gut, wie geht's euch?
You've only got 6 games to do it, but it looks like you're feeling yourself right now.
I mean, yeah, I see Cold Rapid win a game. We have to follow on, and they're on top. Maybe let's go.
Have you guys all had a conversation in North America back in the player lounge to say, you know what, let's do this, let's take this away from Europe?
Oh yeah, we're all doing it for NA. And Twisted Minds, of course, one of the best shows in the world.
Well guys, you definitely gave us all a show. We're going to head to a break when we come back again.
Also, falls du wirklich da bist, sprich mich auf keinen Fall an. Ich hab da keinen Bock drauf. Crazy. Da bin ich echt sauer. Stranger Hair, machst du mit? Hilfst du uns? Wir versuchen, weltbester Kick for Brainrot Spieler zu werden. Lazy, aber auch kein Foto machen. Ne? Ich will wirklich erst bei 100.000 ein Gesicht zeigen. Das hat schon seinen Grund. Stranger Hair, was meinst du in Fortnite? Ja, in Fortnite, Kick for Brainrot wollen wir Platz 1 der Welt werden. Wir brauchen die besten Pets, die ihr alle zusammen trommeln könnt. Wir sind ja schon auf der besten Liste. Stile Brainrot mache ich erstmal so nebenbei. Ich habe ja meine 2 Main-Basen. Ich spiele die Live-Events, morgen auch zum Beispiel, aber nur mit dem Handy, weil ich ja hier bin. Und jetzt suchten wir gerade mal richtig League for Brainrot rein und versuchen der beste Spieler in League for Brainrot zu werden, weltweit. Ich hoffe, ihr helft mir. Schreibt mal rein, wer mir helfen kann. Ihr müsst halt in dem Spiel auf Prestige 12 euch runterhacken und durch das Loch gehen, damit wir so viele geile Pets rankriegen, wie irgendwie geht. Wenn ihr das mit einem ganz schlechten Prestige aufhebt, dann haben wir nur schlechte Pets, Leute. Aber heute ist erstmal Fortnite, Leute. Stranger Air, bist du noch da? Ah, du bist in Italien, sehr gut. Kannst aber trotzdem Live-Event spielen. Ich habe doch heute auch gespielt auf Handy. Ich habe 3 Drachen und 2 Elefanten gekriegt. Ja, ich finde es geil, weil ich habe das ja schon mal, ich war ja schon mal hier. Das gab es schon mal in Kopenhagen, FNCS, und da war ich da und das war sehr geil.
FNCS Summit, we got Mini Miner, we got Lemon 2K. For a moment, I'm gonna put my NA bias mask on.
Wie findest du es?
Alright, sorry about that. I'm gonna take my NA.
Wenn du willst, kannst du mal von ganz Weitem winken. Also hier, sag ich mal, im Umkreis von 10 Meter. Das kannst du machen, ja. Und dann winke ich zurück, aber mehr auch nicht, okay, Bro?
Yeah, really nicely played from these guys as well. I think I identified, of course, that the zone was going up on this absolutely gigantic.
Ja, ist laut, ich weiß. Ich habe gesagt, wenn du in der Nähe bist, dann kannst du ja mal winken, aber so 5 bis 10 Meter weit weg oder so.
It doesn't usually go too well, but because these guys still had so many of those builds, and more importantly, all the teams down below spent so many builds trying to get up that hill, they could just ride out for success here pretty well.
Yeah, ultimately a comfortable game for these two, right? Very favourable zone. They didn't have to spend much of the game sort of running around all over the map, and it sort of gives them that momentum as they get into the game to play for high. That's something that April can do, even if it isn't what his go-to.
Ist jetzt auch jeden Tag da? Alle 3 Tage?
He believes April is the best IGL in the world. That confidence to follow him and then deliver with the fragging is a great combination.
Dude, so sick to see this, right? Like, again, and what's tough, right, is there are so many, like, any duo in this lobby could win, and I'd be just amped, right? Because this is kind of like a sneak peek at what, like, the global split looked like. So to see them come out on top, massive stuff. Take a look at these beautiful standings. Yapno and Pans are currently sitting in that #1 spot. What's interesting as well, the teams just in front and just behind them all early on, right? This is a huge window for them to make a move. And man, with duels like this, Mini, the moment you give them that opportunity, they will start.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, they're making the most of those games. This early to get 17 eliminations for them as well. And this is a duel we've seen on EU performing very well here as well.
I think the Seek might have pulled the trigger on the whole NA on top thing a bit too soon.
Hi Flo, was geht?
That was an EU team.
Heute mal bei Fortnite FNCS.
No, my NA bias mask is on.
Okay, so that's fine. It's falling off quite quickly.
Hey, let me come back to EU. It's all good. I'll come back over. Yeah, anyway, seeing them all go crazy as well.
Admin Review spiele ich manchmal alleine, manchmal mit New zusammen. Also es wäre gut, wenn ihr auf separaten Basen spielt, weil guck mal, dann kriegt ihr mehr Zeug. Also zum Beispiel habe ich heute 3 Drachen gekriegt und 2 Elefanten. Wenn jeder auf seinen Account geht und das macht, dann haben wir mordsgeile Sachen. Zum Traden für die Besten der Besten. Jetzt, weißt du? Ich sag mal, wenn man sich gut vorbereitet und schon den Drachen vorbereitet, dass man da 5-mal auch drin war, dass man dann auch noch in die Mule gehen kann, dann kann man am Ende des Games, also vorher würde ich gar nicht reingehen, am Ende des Games, so 3 Minuten vorher, seine Pets einsammeln, dann geht man den Drachen und dann geht man noch in die Mule. Die Strategie funktioniert echt gut. Ich war heute zwar nur im Drachen drin am Ende, weil ich die Mule nicht vorbereitet hatte, aber war trotzdem gut. Hi Monkey, was geht? Ja, ruf mal, ich bin mal gespannt, ob man es hört. Ich glaube nicht.
He's pretty emotional, but he's very good. He's like, hey, he wasn't even like, oh man, I can't. He was like, yeah, I tried. You know, I did what I could. Sky and Skull as well, another EU team though, going crazy. I'm excited to see more from them. But man, again,
Lazy heute ist auch noch leer, weil heute ist ein Gratis-Tag, der war nicht geplant, deswegen sind nur wenig da. Monkey, was gibt's Neues bei dir? Ich bin mal gespannt, wie lange ich live bin und wie lange der Akku hält.
Clutching up in these games, typically in uncomfortable situations, hitting shots like this, and again, we want to see more of it.
And this is one of the things we've been talking about all season long. Both of them are so good individually that no matter what one of them goes down, the other one still has all the firepower necessary to clutch up, and that's what Sky was doing right there.
Das ist jetzt Game 2 gewesen. Und ich glaube 6 Spiele, oder? Sind es heute? Weiß es einer? Ich glaube 6. Ich hab vorhin nicht zugeguckt. Ich habe tatsächlich Big Four Brainwash gespielt. Deswegen habe ich am Anfang nicht zugehört. Aber ich weiß, dass es 250.000 € zu gewinnen gibt. Oder Dollar.
What are you guys seeing now in the bottom in and out? Obviously, kind of what you called out, Sky's World, we're seeing them do games, we're seeing them go crazy, but suddenly we're finding ourselves in a solo clutch situation. It's got to be the quality of this line, right?
It's difficult. It's also very difficult to sort of predict what's going to happen in these lobbies. You play the script, you know the teams around, you know how your drop spot's going to work, how they
Nein, ich habe nichts gehört. Aber trotzdem lustig.
Against all these other regions, playing their own styles, their own strategies. Ultimately, it's tough for them to predict what's going to happen.
I think as far as meta with the veterans, right, one thing we saw in game 1 and in game 2 is teams who maybe we don't traditionally consider hype teams being opportunistic, being aggressive towards hype when getting favorites.
Was gibt's denn zu essen?
Again, it was a zone where they had a big to what the rest of the lobby they thought, let's take hype. Same thing with April and Post there. If you are a team who maybe you don't usually play hype, if you have a big on the zone, then you have to go for it.
Yeah, man, again, it's with the top 25, you know, we just
Ich bin alleine da.
games. I'm almost wondering, like, is there still a bit of those nerves?
Weit bist du da oder was?
We're almost halfway through, right? We need that.
Ich habe schon zu Lazy gesagt, der ist irgendwie auch da. Ich habe schon gesagt, ey, also ich habe keinen Bock, dass irgendeiner ein Foto von mir macht oder so, oder nah rankommt, weißt du? Mal winken oder so aus 5 Meter, das ist kein Thema, aber erst bei 100.000 Abos mache ich das.
I'll be honest. I'm looking at these guys now.
Was, du bist im Restaurant und guckst mir zu? Das ist ja krass.
Shout out to my guys.
In was für ein Restaurant seid ihr?
Where he was talking about all the different EU teams that people were picking up going into the competition. Right? People were looking at a sharper team, Sky and Skull.
Was habe ich denn an, Blazy? Wie sieht mein Oberteil aus? Grün oder blau? Ich bin bei der Fortnite-WM, Fortnite FNCS, Leute.
Yeah, and I was speaking to their coach there, and he was saying, of course, they've had a few issues. Of course, the drop spot situation this season has been really difficult. They've had to switch around. They haven't found that home. And even this weekend, they've had to switch drops as well.
Ich bin heute, glaube ich, fast an Leverkusen vorbeigefahren.
I think the key word that I use to describe these guys, particularly this season, is just adaptability. Every single time they try and change something up, they try something new. They're just such a great team together.
Nein, das meine ich nicht. Ich rufe nicht Reason. Ich kann ganz leise Reason rufen.
That's such a valuable asset to have in this lobby in particular, because again, as I mentioned earlier, you don't know what things are going to happen, you don't know who's going to be rotating where, so if you can have that adaptability, it's going to pay dividends.
I have decided to be the designated 5 assessor, 5 monitor. Watching every player's vibe, figuring out who's comfortable, who's maybe a bit nervous. Every time I see the teams now, they just look comfy. They don't look like a young team who has only ever played at one big line and they're still feeling a bit nervous. They just seem like ready for this occasion and that goes a long way.
Ich habe schon wieder vergessen, wer die erste Runde gewonnen hat, aber die jeweils eine Runde gewonnen haben, sind jetzt einmal auf Platz 2 und auf Platz 5.
This kind of feels like I've been
Ich glaube, Trizzy hat schon mal im Grunde gewonnen,
like,
Taken oder so,
that
ich
is
weiß nicht.
such an advantage, right? For some of these players,
Ich habe es mir nicht gemerkt. Ab und zu zeigen sie die Statistiken.
really loud. This
Die sind heute auch noch nicht wichtig. Die Statistiken, morgen, übermorgen geht es richtig rund.
It isn't here.
Ja, Peter Bott hat zum Beispiel noch gar nichts gerissen.
Here in VFNCS is earlier on, right? We used to be at these events and we used to go, half the lobbies never played like that, right? And it's like now you used to look at people and you're like, no, these guys have been here, right? And we feel like credibility.
Warum haben 3 Leute gequittet?
You don't have to think about it, right? I'm not going to be nervous. Just know what you need to do.
Ja, weil es jetzt nicht mehr, diese Miaul und so nicht mehr so viel wert ist, und so, ne? Oder?
I just looked down. I took a little Venom curve. Oh, 9th place. He's in 9th place right now. It's crazy, you know, when you start to look at the disparity of the points, crazy. You're like, oh, yeah, the guys are 172. What the heck? 5th place, 76. Even Darkness in the minority.
Ja, also ich ziehe das durch, Koko. Ich ziehe das durch. Ich will weltweit der beste Dick for Brainwatch-Spieler werden. Ich brauche die besten Pets, Leute.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's coming from my job. When I saw him reach for that telescope, I said, he's finished.
Guck mal, wenn die aufhören, dann gibt es andere, die da spielen. Es gibt halt andere. Also ich habe schon viele gesehen, die das Spiel jetzt neu anfangen gerade. Sehr viele.
Fantastic. So, guys, I'm getting word. The next game is ready to go. So, Jackers, take it away.
With EU on top of the leaderboard and a winning back-to-back games, I had to invite a little friend on over to let us know what he's thinking about the action.
Listen, man, I was feeling too energized.
Trials kommt ja morgen auch hierher, ne?
I had to go ahead. I had to jump off my mouth right here and get into the mix and see what's going to be happening live.
Also bis jetzt habe ich Amar gesehen und dann so eine rothaarige Fortnite-Spielerin, die immer streamt, aber ich weiß nicht, wie sie heißt. Keine Ahnung. Der Anfang ist immer mega krass, weil da kann immer viel passieren, wenn die Lampen noch nicht so ausgestattet sind mit Netz, dann geht es immer rund. Ich finde es auf jeden Fall gut, dass ihr was reinschreibt, Leute. Das ist ganz wichtig für den Algorithmus, wenn ihr so ein bisschen was reinschreibt. Scheißegal was. Hi Flo, was geht? Lasst gerne mal ein Like da, Leute.
Off spawn at the new sanctuary. There was a couple of scares in game 1 where after that elimination, Sharp did go down, but Pixie picked it right back on up and said, no, I'm not ready to have you go down just yet. But they get beat. They get beat by a long shot by Romero and they won.
Layla and Romero have been waiting for the opportunity to strike back. They've really got to get some points building on the board, and they needed to start now before we're done with the halfway point. But Trouble is still striking.
Die Fight, viel Spaß damit. Du kannst auch hier mit zugucken. Ich brauche jeden Zuschauerfight. Und vor allem, wenn mein Mod was reinschreibt, ist das gut. Kannst auch hier zugucken.
Trouble in paradise. If you take a look over how good Clicks and Higgs have been doing off spawn over the past couple of days, the confidence is probably what led them to actually make the final decision to land at Wonky Land. But I can't lie, when the stakes matter, when everything matters here on the upper bracket, and falling short.
Yeah, let's see how this off-spawn fight actually went. I did see some third-party shots coming in the mix, but Higgs gets beat off-spawn for the floor.
Ja, aber dann guck doch bei mir. Weil das ist doch mein Mod. Du musst mich doch pushen. Immer viel schreiben und gucken, oder nicht? Das siehst du doch auch alles. Hi Rezi, was geht? Nein, ich spiele nicht mit, ich gucke nur zu. Aber Leute, wir sind in Kick for Brainrot Platz 2, Leute, ne? Danke euch. Wir wollen aber Erster werden, weltweit. Führender wollen wir werden, Leute. Wir brauchen ganz viele Pets. Aber alle Prestige 12 und mit 4 Trades, Leute. Denkt dran.
Hey, but it looks like Jacob Bridgeville and Andrews are kind of on the hunt. They might have a little bit of information as to where he is currently at.
Ja, wenn ich hier mitspielen würde, dann wäre ich reich, dann wäre ich gemachter Mann. Aber so, ich kann das nicht so gut. Ich kann nicht so gut bauen.
So they're going to go ahead and work their way from the north all the way down to the south. And because they already have an early sense of the zone going towards the north, they're not in a hurry either. And this is one of the biggest changes to Latte Landing with the golden fishing spots. It's almost a guaranteed chance that they're able to get some sort of gold lowdown.
Other teams are still looking to try and see.
Ja, lasst uns live laufen, Fight. Lass mal ein paar Likes da, Leute.
Disengage. Tinka resigns. They don't want to draw any third-party intervention here, and they're already looking to just try and create a little bit of space here. Just breaking out that there's only so much material left for them to work with here at New Sanctuary. They're going to have to eventually look for either a fight and a refinish or just a full retreat here. But it's going to be tough because Chaplaincy, they look like they had primary control in New Sanctuary.
Ja, danke schön.
Kind of channeling that aggressiveness that we were talking about earlier on, right? Brazil, they love to play that aggressive game. We've heard it in interviews. It feels like the region itself is played so fast.
Fight, spielst du morgen Steel Brainrot?
On land, everything kind of slows down. So there's going to be a big adjustment here for duos like Spawn and Knight. As you can see, they did kind of go ahead and push Reese onto Tinka, but quickly being held off, and once they kind of reassess, are like, wait a minute, we do not have those materials to continue to play the way that we want to. Full reset.
Weil ich denke, dass ich mit Handy spiele.
Yeah, this is just one of those sides of the map.
Müsste eigentlich zeitlich gehen, das ist noch genau bevor es hier losgeht.
Inside of that hole, which is also grounding land. It's almost hard to get out as you jump on board Peterbot and Hoyo. They gave a quick rotation south towards Humble Hills. They're trying to go ahead and interact with some of these contested fights, Buzz and Sphinx. That's what Nathan are doing at Humble Hills. They've seen them go north, but they've been followed by Hari and Candy. So it's interesting decisions how we're going to see them play this one out because 16 points. I don't think anybody would have guessed them this low on the leaderboard coming in game 3.
Well, things have definitely dissipated a little bit there too. 14 and boy, you can tell they weren't able to find anything in Humble.
Weißt, hast du jetzt mal Dick for Brainrot angefangen? Oder Blazy?
Chino, here at Sandy Strip, they have plenty of company nearby, probably more neighbors. They're actually looking for the early starting measures, but Sandy Strip, we knew it was going to be two contestants at the start of this day, Jacob, and I really can't help but wonder whether or not some of these duos would choose to stick around.
Ja, ich spiele morgen auch.
Wenn
Wenn ich genug Datenvolumen habe, dann kann ich morgen auch noch spielen. Gucken, wie lange das Datenvolumen reicht.
But I was talking to Kanata, it was one of those games, he said, yeah, we made them leave. We only have to deal with one team now, and Chino and Pablo, so I mean, I wouldn't be too excited because they're a huge threat to this lobby, but at least one less team that they have to worry about.
Rico and Mal looking here towards Virgin Fortress. I think those first two zones were pretty favorable. Whenever we took a look at the leaderboard, pretty much every single team that landed on the northeast side of the map, I saw a little arrow upwards next to their name, obviously picking up big points, but you're going to have to go a little bit higher than that. Yapko and Panzer right now sitting pretty first place, 180 points, and I can't lie, the biggest difference, it's all in the eliminations.
That's also a very worrying factor for so many of these other teams because we know top 25 can be.
Die führen, Panzer, der gerade war, führen. Panzer und Jako. Platz 2 Aiken und Rizzy. Ja.
Nowhere left to run to. Latte is just so far north of the map. The only places that he could look to retreat towards were straight into the hands of other duos.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate that the zone is still floating around the north side of the map. Because if we had a far southern zone or even towards the Swordquest, but most of those teams would be out of here already. Maybe a few sprinkled around, but it'd be definitely easier than this. And he pushed by Jardu, sliver of HP, Brilliant from the other side, they pick up that elimination. And there's one thing about Brilliant and Jardu, it's a team you can almost never count out. They got into that last opportunity, switching teammates, they get into
Oh, hi Theo, wie geht's dir?
bottom of that.
Schön, dass du da bist. Kannst gerne ein bisschen was reinschreiben. Bist ja immerhin noch Mod.
Another fight that is reached a bit of a stalemate for them to finish. Javi, they hear that drive grenade go off. They're going to be taking a look. They're not going to fall short to a little bit of a full plan, similar to how Shark did.
Wir spielen jetzt Dick for Brainwatch und sind auf Platz 2 im Augenblick. Wir wollen der weltbeste Dick for Brainwatch Spieler werden. Mal gucken, ob wir es schaffen.
The idea there, though, from Oxford here, they don't need to stick around. They've actually had a lot of success already on the starting point today. I believe they were in that 8th place position on the leaderboard entering this halfway point of today's competition. So the only thing really left to do is wait and see what are Chino and Pablo going to do with this legendary POI.
Oh my gosh, what are Pablo and Chino going to do with it? What is the rest of the lobby going to do with it as well? Take a look at the map. I can't even count that. I take a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. I think there's like a solo in there somewhere as well. The zone seemingly is going a little bit further south of Sandy Strip, but every single team is looking to claim.
7 Teams in einem Ort gelandet. Oder sind sie jetzt gerade da?
Another team floating. Wait for us. We want to join the party as well. And there's so many others in the outskirts. So for Chino and Pablo,
Ja, guten
they
Appetit.
have a little bit of advantage here. They were the first to set the flag at this BOI. So every team that rotates in their will not know exactly where they're at, what builds are theirs. So you got to be very, very cognizant of getting caught off guard.
Size and Scary, they are one duo that has yet to throw their name into the hat for contention over by Sandy Strip.
Oh, danke für das Like.
Near Builders Barracks and Size Scary. Spaniards hoping to try and represent, but at the same time, Jacob, from that EU nation, they've had a lot of experience with dealing with aggressive fighting styles, and yet still, here today, sitting at only 20 points.
Yeah, I'm not too worried just yet. This is game 3, so by the time this one's over, that's when you really look at the leaderboard and see how much the point thresholds control your destiny. But coming into this, I was thinking, okay, you need
Was los, Armin?
decent performances maybe to get top 25. 2 pop-off games, or in some
Sehr schön.
cases,
Schön, dass alle da seid. Schreibt gerne immer viel rein, das pusht das Live. Und am besten noch teilen.
Continue to try to find some sort of successful aggression. As you can see right there, 1 elimination on Peterbach right now. I did see
Ja, ich bin da.
that's actually going to come off of the back
Natürlich.
reboot, so they were fully aware of the opportunity with that. And I did have sort of like a drive-by conversation with Max.
Danke für das Like.
Feeling good, right? Back to back and a win.
Ja, natürlich das Live.
I want Peterbach playing against this though.
This is just so tough now because they are going to get involved, but sadly, minutes out for the last thing that they ever wanted to see is Petermont and Polio barreling down on their position. Kenny and Marty still hanging out by the lighthouse, though, tells me that they're going to be looking to trail Pete and Polio. They're not going to allow them to freely
Leute, wer macht das 20. Like voll?
They're the side there to keep Polio later on.
Yeah, huge annoyance because they're a team that you kind of said it yourself when you're talking facts. They like to get aggressive. We want to see them get aggressive. But this isn't just an NAFNCS. This is the best of the entire world when it comes to Fortnite. You're not going to get the same.
Also ich bin jetzt eigentlich 3 Tage hier. Es geht 3 Tage. Heute ist der Tag, der ist so zusätzlich. Der war eigentlich gar nicht geplant. Die hatten nur 2 Tage, deswegen ist so her. Und dann haben sie das Ticket auf 3 Tage verlängert. Deswegen sitzen nicht nur da unten welche, sondern auch da drüben sitzen auch noch welche. Und da unten irgendwo ist Amar.
Just kind of talked about. Because the zone goes a little bit further south, all of the teams are eventually going to have to leave Sandy, which provides a great opportunity for
Reason ist auf Platz 16.
to get all the damage that they might need.
Reason just being proactive, shooting out trees, preventing other duos from having the opportunity to hide behind that natural terrain coverage. Urban Meadow, though, entirely different strategy. They're still hanging out in Battlewood Boulevard. They're hoping to see if they can pick up some additional points here off the elimination.
Wie lange hast du noch dein Sprachbahn?
Nowhere left to run as Benno just easily clears those 2 out with Curve.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned on NA when Benno won his inter-regional championship for EU and NA is you don't mess with the guy in his job spot. Multiple times in that major final, teams were trying to steal the waves. He just chased them down and sent them back to the lobby, which kind of helped his game plan because of Surge.
Ja, da sind alle besten Fortnite-Spieler der Welt, ja.
No doubt
aktuelle, die mussten sich ja qualifizieren.
Little check-in here with Paulo and Chino. We know that they land Sandy Springs 280 down above right now. They're going for some control. They're going for a little bit of a sneaky
Es geht 3 Tage. Eigentlich sollte es 2 Tage gehen. Und dann haben sie gesagt, okay, es haben sich viele Leute nicht qualifiziert. Wir machen mal noch ein paar Leute mehr. Und deswegen gibt es... Heute fliegen schon ein paar raus und die dürfen dann morgen nicht mitspielen. Ja. Also die sitzen da unten, die sind quasi zusätzlich da. Also die können sich alle qualifizieren, aber die sitzen da hinten und das ist morgen wahrscheinlich nicht an. Ja, mir geht's gut, danke dir. Wie geht's dir? Lass gerne mal ein Like da.
Yeah, and he's officially on a clock. He has about 130 of HP to heal in this situation, which is not much. We're in the 5th zone.
Ja, ich war schon mal bei der Fortnite WM oder FNCS, das ist einfach absolut geil. Und heute ist noch der ruhige Tag, morgen geht's richtig ab. Amar hat hier so eine Fan-Ecke, da rasten die Leute völlig aus, das ist total geil.
Even further down is Doxy. Maybe X1 as well are trying to get elimination of their own.
Yes, there is no opportunity to go ahead and let Swizzy get any damage here. They're going to use the overdrive man to go ahead at this stage. That is worst case scenario for Swizzy. For somebody that needs
Ey, genauso würde ich auch spielen, Leute, genauso. Wenn ich es könnte. Aber ihr seht, die ganzen Profis sind auch immer in der Zone. Ich bin auch immer in der Zone.
Right now, they need to get into zone. Finally, a team comes in. 12 HP to work with. 2 ticks left. Swizzy's going to be going down.
There were only so many places left for Swizzy to actually venture
Armin,
through.
irgendwas hast du gespammt. Jetzt wurdest du gerade blockiert. Vom Nightbot.
And just like that, we're right back here at Sandy Strip and the huge.
Alter, hat er den gerade in der Luft zerfetzt. Guck mal, ist immer noch in der Luft. Der hat 2 Kills in der Luft gemacht. Nee, er hat den Finish in der Luft. Das habe ich ja noch nie gesehen. Habt ihr das gesehen heute?
Wow, not only getting the knock mid-air, but cleaning up the eliminations, and that is exactly why they banned that Sandy Strip. They know the team will float around and try to use that as a mode of rotation. We've seen multiple teams, not just that.
Das ist Polo, der mit Peter Bott spielt. Aber sie sind nicht gut. Also bis jetzt haben sie jetzt 20 Punkte und 1 Kill. Die sind nicht gut. Der erste hat schon über 100 irgendwas Punkte, 140 oder so. Hi Matrix, wie geht's? Matrix, wir haben es geschafft, wir sind Platz 2. Jetzt müssen wir noch weltbester Spieler werden.
Definitely the best position that we have seen out of Coil all 3 games so far today. Sky's still on the other hand though, way up in the distance, separated from the rest of the lobby, trying to see if they can just break in the end zone, hoping that they get a chance to try and take out any duos that might be looking to try and cut them off, but instead we'll find a secure position to start targeting out, securing space, and now they can take the chance to look back.
This is the point in the game where you have to stay alive. You've been in it for 7 zones.
Ja, das wäre cool, oder? Das wäre ein schöner Titel, den könnte man immer so drunter schreiben. Das ist auf jeden Fall mal ein leichter.
Nico, right? They've almost found the opportunity right there on Puma and Toyota. As you see right now, the zone is actually going north. And when a pool like this happens, anything that's already faced up here is going to have the opportunity to pick up the high ground. And that's going to be
Ich finde es immer so krass am Ende, wenn eigentlich die Zone so klein ist, dass man schon an Sturmschaden so ungefähr stirbt, sind die noch mit 20, 30 Leuten da.
They are right back in the most comfortable driving seat. That's exactly where they had so much success in the game.
Leute, wie spät ist es eigentlich? Ich habe keine Ahnung, wie spät es ist. Ich gucke normalerweise immer auf mein Handy, aber das ist gerade in Gebrauch.
All 3 games so far today.
Also der zweite ist tot und der erste, dritte, vierte, fünfte lebt noch. Was, schon so spät? Ich glaube, das ist Game Nummer 3, also noch 3 Spiele und dann war es das für heute. Da muss ich erstmal ein Hotel einschicken, da muss ich erstmal ein Video machen von meinem Zimmer. Hoffentlich ist das auch gut. Patrick, wie war dein Live-Event? Dick for Brainwood. Ich habe 3 Drachen und 2 Elefanten gekriegt. 2 gute Drachen und 1 guter Elefant.
Bring down Demko, and they are still looking for more to targeting overhead, but you are never safe. You are not high enough to avoid the rest of the lobby just yet.
Yeah, especially in a meta where you got shot.
Ojo, was meinst du?
So you gotta expect things to happen at a moment's notice. You got Ari Kami trying to go ahead and shockwave forward, but they stayed on both separate ends for Sky and Skull. They're making sure nobody can get a free play. Meanwhile,
Ja, ich gehe da. Dass das jetzt, wenn es geht, alle 6 Spiele durchlaufen. Also das erste habe ich ja aufgenommen als Video. Das werde ich dann hochladen und die anderen 5 wollte ich eigentlich streamen. Das ist Peter Bott.
Now they go ahead and make the rotation necessary that they need, and I'm sure we find them another
Malibuka. Swizzy Cold.
Isolated in the mid-ground, trying to take out players as they look back. Sky and Scroll, though, just lifted their own devices here.
Sky.
Shut down what Grinch and Quiet going on, but instead, they'll find themselves looking to stay moving forward. They still want to control front side. They still want to make sure that nobody else is going to get to take over.
Yeah, sometimes for Sky and Scroll, you need to stumble before you wake up and start to play to your full.
Ich glaube, Reason ist auch schon wieder tot. Das Swizzy.
Same thing for Rapid Cold.
Nee, Twice Cold heißt er. Malibuka. Was meinst du, Fight? Oh, Peter Bott ist tot. Ojo hat keine Metz, aber er kriegt den Nebel von jemand anders ab. Naja, morgen wird es voll und am Sonntag noch voller. Heute ist ja nur Zusatz. Aber ich glaube, der High Ground gewinnt. High Ground hat es gut. Aber die sind nicht sehr hoch. Also da kann jeder hochkommen. Poyo lebt ja noch. Poyo, der Teamkamerad von Peter Bott, lebt noch. Jetzt haben sie schon 88 Punkte, die holen auf. Ah, jetzt ist er tot. Komischerweise klatschen immer alle, wenn Peter Bott stirbt. Dann finden das alle gut. Fabio, was geht? Lass gerne mal ein Like da. Oh, in der Luft hat der Swizzy geholt. Nee, 2 Cold geholt. Die haben ihren High Ground verloren. Oh. Er baut ihn ab. Oh! Grinch hat gewonnen. Dankeschön, Dankeschön. Also viele von den Leuten habe ich auch schon gesehen, ne? Die laufen ja hier rum, ganz normale Menschen. Leute, lasst doch mal ein Like da bitte.
You've actually struggled with the zone within that surge. How have you been finding it?
That surge, you just run deep and chill, smile.
So all you gotta do is just W that key.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep the W.
Yeah.
So, Düsseldorf, what do we think of Planet Cringe? Okay then, that's 3 games done. We're gonna have a short break. When we come back, we'll be a second.
Gleich kommt die Tabelle, mal gucken, wie viele Punkte sie haben. Ich glaube, es gab jetzt 3 verschiedene Sieger, das ist schon mal cool. Jetzt ist tatsächlich eine Pause. Deswegen fangen sie alle an rumzuschreien, weil sie jetzt ihre Stars sehen. Wir gehen ja da unten raus. Alle sich was zu essen und trinken holen. Und alle Spieler gehen in Pause. Ja, heute 6 Spiele, morgen 6 Spiele und übermorgen 6 Spiele. Chat, weiß einer, morgen ist doch auch Live-Event, oder? Big Four Brainwash? Morgens doch, oder? Nee, abends. Nachmittags, ne? Ich glaube 18:30 Uhr und dann am Sonntagmorgen, oder? Wie war das? Und morgen früh ist gar nichts, ne? Also Reason hat bis jetzt auch noch nichts gerissen.
Fortnite fan, welcome back to the FNCS Summit. Cringe and Fly get themselves a victory royale in a 1v1 situation.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I want to put my UK bias on. And I want to say UK on top, Cringe and Fly doing it for the boys.
Have I got my hat?
Ich mag die Stimme von dem einen, der ist so cool irgendwie.
UK fans out there, represent.
Oh man, you guys can't keep it like this, alright? You gotta give me some time. Man, congrats to hear them seeing him get a victory out in that situation. I can't believe it as well. Against Sky and Strowman for like just a moment. I really believe Sky and Strowman, this is their moment, game 3, they're gonna strike. And then Creek said, sorry about that. I've made my way here based on my skill, my merit, my prowess. Scroll, you have to sit down this time.
What performance from Cringe here at the end. I mean, to take down Sky like that, to 1v2 the best duo in EU coming into today. I mean, what a performance from him individually. This is a duo that we've seen rising up throughout the course of EU, a team that we have expectations of because of their talent level, a team that's developing and coming through. Yes, we're going to be biased because they're UK. That's what Reece at home is watching. I think he's actually he'll be very happy, of course, because Cringe is Scottish. But this is a team that are actually genuinely improving. They're getting better. Bias hat off. They're looking good.
Yeah, great fundamentals, great mechanics. That saw there at the end, right? Great has a really nice right hand and scroll in the situation where you can see it, right? To get back. I think the big thing with obviously Cringe as well is in solo situations like that, he's sort of burst into the scene last year as a solo player, right?
Klar bin ich noch da. Aber wenn keiner Fragen stellt, dann antworte ich auch nicht.
And obviously that arrogance, that confidence sort of helps him as well, right? I'm glad twice at that time. No, mate. It was hard.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Yeah, he's like keeping him humble. You know, that's a mark of a really good friend, right? Like just dial it back a little bit. On the other side, obviously, Sky and Scroll.
Ich kann ja auch nicht weggehen, das ist ja mein Handy hier. Also, kann ich mein Handy alleine lassen.
You know, suddenly we're starting to pick up the pace, taking it all the way to the second place with a ton of eliminations. I feel like this is a Sky and Scroll we're kind of used to seeing.
I have to say, yeah, right? I think we've seen games like this from them in the EU Major Finals where they are just together, they are able to sort of get through on this slow ground. I think Vivid pulled it out really well where you can see what they were trying to do very early on into that in-game as well, establish low ground. And even though there are more teams trying to do it right after seeing their success, they are still just the best in the world when it comes to playing at that level.
Yeah, I think it's right 10 service at that front side low, and I was thinking, yeah, really nice so front side is a low take from these guys. And ultimately, because they played it so much, they were sort of bat away any of the competition. I think Thomas HD was down there at one point as well, trying to take it. Unfortunately, of course, couldn't close out the game successfully, but was that 10 eliminations for these guys? You mentioned it, Zeke, not the greatest start for them, but a huge comeback, and that's what individuals can do in this one.
Yeah, that might be enough to just suddenly shoot them.
So, jetzt kommt die Tabelle. Also Panzer und Jakob führt immer noch. Dann Twice Cole, Chris, beide Twice. Rico und Malibuka sind mittlerweile Dritter. Die waren sonst nicht so gut. Es hat jeder mal gewonnen, ne? Also 3 verschiedene Sieger. Ist alles noch drin. Aber wer auf gar keine vollen Chance hat im Augenblick, ist Peter Brott. Er steht nicht auf der Liste. Reason auch nicht. Da freue ich mich, Fight. Dankeschön. Das pusht mich, das ist wichtig. Weil das sieht ja auch eine Wiedergabezeit. Wenn ihr durchschnittlich lange drin seid, wird der Stream quasi als erfolgreich gewertet. Wenn ihr viel reinschreibt, ist er erfolgreich. Ja, wenn es irgendwie geht, Leute auch mal mehr die Shorts kommentieren oder so. Das wäre auch geil.
They gotta be happy about that too, right? Like, hey, we're looking good, we're on top right now. Well, let's just make sure we bring that energy back for finals, right? One to also highlight Peter and Polio finally we get a game out of them where they are together. We do see this often, right? One, it's either Polio or Peter as a solo.
Peter Bott, die haben jetzt 88 Punkte. Ich meine, so weit sind sie jetzt nicht weg. Das ist ein Sieg, wo man dann auf einmal wieder oben ist, aber im Augenblick sind die nicht mehr so gut. Polio hat ja schon mal gewonnen. Peter Bott hat schon mal gewonnen, Polio hat schon mal gewonnen.
Still, of course, qualified here, but still not quite performing as you would expect. And even here today, it's a bit sort of reminiscent of that level. They've had their moments, they've had their ability to fight. We've seen them getting a few eliminations, but it's that togetherness, it's that overeagerness maybe to come here in this place.
Yeah, not to be a nostalgia merchant, right? When you look at the last time we saw them as a duo on a stage like this, when they won Globals, they were playing a very different game to the rest of the world. Right? That was all the big trick. They had all these different advantages that meant that the game they played was different.
Dieser Bot ist 14. Und Reason ist gar nicht auf der Liste. Der ist noch nicht mal in der Top 20.
And I think they're starting to get there. They're starting to figure things out. So that's style like essentially. But still plenty more games. And I think for these two especially, it's just about making sure they're playing on Sunday. No hiccups that set them to come back.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really good point too. Because you got to think back in NA, they kind of conditioned a lot, right? Everyone's been like, Peter Buckboyle, they're kind of close by, but dude, you're looking at 6 other regions they don't care. They're like, I don't care.
Ach, du guckst das in Fortnite oder was? Ich dachte, du guckst das noch irgendwie anders.
In second place, though, we did see
Gibt so ein Fortnite Live-Übertragung oder was?
I mean, they're looking good, guys. I can't lie. It's crazy too because we see this all the time, Levin. People just like continue to look at Cole and say like, oh, he doesn't play the game. He's not good at the game. He's not good at this. But here we are, Summit. I feel like he shut some of those people up.
He did. And to the people who've been saying that, 2 days ago, he was the player in the practice who actually played the most of anyone, right? So I think, people like to hit Cole with that narrative of playing, but ultimately, Cole is one of the best players to ever touch this game. Not just in this lobby right now, period, in Fortnite. And so I think Cole, in this moment, he's starting to feel it. I think Rapid is feeling confident as far as the game plan goes. Know that he can take these late high takes. Been somewhat successful throughout the day. I'm feeling really good about this.
Yeah, really impressed actually with their calmness in a lot of these endgame moments. You had a really nice listening earlier on, and we were expecting maybe a little bit of excitement. Of course, they're on high, they win the first game, they're looking really good, but the way that they communicate, the way that they're navigating these games, it is almost just a walk in the park for them in those positions.
Da freue ich mich auf Fight, sehr gut.
Confidence going into this weekend as well. I think they understand it's not necessarily about having the best day of your life today. It's about
Ich bin gespannt, ob wir heute die 30 Likes schaffen.
as they are today, taking those high takes with really nice time. They should be just okay.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Hey, look, right now we're at the happy point of the competition. The players, we've given them a bit of a break, a bit of a moment to kind of collect themselves, prepare for that second half. But don't put us anywhere right now with some information on the zones.
Thank you, Zeke. Look, I want to break down 2 pivotal.
Der analysiert jetzt, wo wer immer landet.
So 1 is Storm Surge and 2 is Zones. If we look back at Storm Surge previously, it was the minimum damage threshold needed depending on the zones when I start losing HP and shield. Now it's net surge, so it's not only how much damage you do, it's also how much damage you receive. So if we look at today and see how it's impacted the players, the rotations, and specifically the zones. Game 1 ended right here, a little south of Frigid Fortress. And if we look at the teams, the top 4 teams of that first match, we had Cold Rapid, we had Reed Cooper, FKS Hero, and Yapko Panzer. Now, I'm not sure if you're seeing the trend I'm seeing, but all of these duos are incredibly close to where this zone ended. Now, you could say, okay, maybe it was a fluke, we know zones have been important in Fortnite competitive. This is the first event of this caliber where net surge has actually been in play. So if we take a look at game number 2, the zone ended north, right up here. Guess who won the match? It was Acorn and Vault, and they land right inside of that zone. Second place, Vico Malabuca. They land Frigid Fortress. I don't even have arrows because you can see how close these duos actually were to that final zone. You can say, okay, I'm seeing the trend, but what about game 3? What happened there? Look, I'm not even going to break down all the teams. It ended right here. Our winners, Cringe and Volko, and I was getting hyped about that, land right here east of Dark Dominion. And as you can see, there is not much distance that you have to travel to get to the zone. Now, we've only seen 3 games have been played out. Today, we have a lot more competition to look for.
Also er sagt quasi, dass die Leute, die immer in der Nähe von der Endzone gelandet sind oder dahin rotiert sind, die haben halt am meisten Punkte geholt und gewonnen.
Let's head back to the desk to continue breaking things down.
Yeah, I like that Tzolkata guy. I like that Tzolkata. I need to read that Tzolkata. He's really cool. Interesting information there, though.
Ja, man muss ja gar nicht alles verstehen. Ich verstehe auch nicht alles. Es geht eigentlich darum, das zu gucken, wie krass das ist. Ne?
And we kind of just get to break down that data. What
10 Minuten ist nächstes Game.
The zones impact. How do we affect the other regions? These are the players in the game. It's so clever.
Absolutely, and I think when we get into the nitty-gritty of what to call.
Zeit kannst du auch Big for Brainrot spielen und dich mal bis Prestige 12 runterhacken, dass du in den Live-Events mal richtig geile Sachen farmen kannst. Wir sind da gerade richtig krass dabei. Wir wollen auf Platz 1 der Welt kommen. Mal gucken, ob es klappt.
You can sort of little TQ peeks out the base, take a couple shots, sit back down here, and you don't use any shields, right? And I think that is why we're seeing that kind of
T3 peaks in 2026, I love it. But if you're one of those, I love it. But if you're one of those teams that aren't rotating and you've got a far pole, it does become a lot easier to actually take a lot of that damage. So that's why those teams aren't doing so.
Crazy stuff. Well, guess what, guys? As we are in the halfway point of the competition, we're going to check with some of our players right now. It's the Yakima and Panzer City Live with Frankie.
Thank you so much. Hansi, you might not have got a victory.
Vor mir sitzt einer, der guckt FNCS auf seinem Handy, obwohl er genau hier sitzt und es eigentlich so sieht.
But you're calling your game. How would you describe your game at the moment?
Just scout around, get some.
Does it help that you're able to take on another duo or someone along the way?
Das sind die Führenden.
Does it help? I don't think it changes anything. It's pretty big or small. Sometimes if you split it's probably even more, so make it work.
What do you prefer to do? Do you prefer to get that early surge?
I don't even know how to time having at a counter rank. The surge doesn't really matter because we just like kill them insta right now. But if we fight one, it's all the wars obviously.
I feel like you're not a team that's going to play it safely for placement. You're always going to be looking at those nation points too.
Ach, jetzt macht's
So
Spaß.
how
Okay,
do
sehr
you
gut.
judge the risk in each situation, Hunter? How do you make the judgment call as to whether to fight or leave it?
Ik heb bijvoorbeeld een spaal, dus dan keer hem al los weer. Ik kijk dat ze 5 seconds eraan hebben.
And what's held you back in the end game so far from actually taking a victory royale?
It's probably the last moving. Like we just need one more refresh, maybe like one more sample. Just a little bit more luck and we can probably win next games.
Well, you might as well give it a shot, guys, because you've already qualified for Championship Sunday, so congratulations. Let's go back to the desk.
You know, it's interesting. I feel like there's this like that thought in the back of my mind is like, are we seeing the very best out of all those players? Or are they kind of thinking, hold on, let's just save a little sum for Championship Sunday?
Oh yeah, no definitely. This is not the strats that they were preparing for Championship Sunday. To give you a team that expect to qualify through, I think you have to keep some of those strats under wraps. You have to adapt to the lobby that you're in, of course, but there's definitely going to be some things that we can look to see what they do, I suppose. So.
Also ich frage mich ja, warum er einen Pullover anhat, ohne Scheiß. Und der andere eine Jacke, damit es gut aussieht, weil kalt ist es ihm nicht.
I like that, the kind of preamble to the game that is final. Now guys, I'm getting word. We actually
Und als der angekommen ist, waren ja hier 30 Grad.
Where is it? What's up? Oh, you're dressed up as your icon.
Yeah, this is me. I'm still got some pins in me, but I think for the special meet and greet I'm having tonight, I'm gonna be looking like my skid, which is really cool.
Dude, first off, of course, congratulations. You've got yourself that icon. How does it feel? I love the video you can put out, like, I've been waiting, and then it's happened, you're celebrating. How did you feel though?
Oh, it feels incredible.
Überall in Deutschland war es warm. Es gibt auch Gewitter heute Nacht.
Oh man, there was a lot of emotion, especially during my launch because I didn't expect to hit my wave from moves like that, but it was all great seeing everybody come out and support. What an incredible moment.
That's awesome, bro. And I love to, many people may not know, but the fact that you kind of got a little, kind of like a nod to your wife, right? I remember commenting here all the way back to like fall skirmish, bro. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, well she outplaced me in the first.
Danke für das Like.
Whatever for a long time, and it was so great to be able to get a nod to her. She used the blue skin a lot, and I was able to call it that way which is much the last thing we said. Also, the pack play that we have there, it's just like a personalized version, much street stuff. And I have a regular, which is awesome.
Dude, I love that. Of course, how's it feel, knowing, I don't know, you might have one of the coolest pickaxes we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually crazy to see people rocking it during the tournament, and I think we'll see a lot more people rocking some Chip Gamer stuff on Sunday. I just have a feeling.
Yeah, it's not no big deal, just a slight little feeling. Well, I mean, interesting, don't you have your own thing happening right now?
Yeah, so it's a meet and greet in person. It's going to be a live stream as well in Seattle. If anybody's in the area, come through, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to meet everybody.
So sick. Well, TG, thank you so much for hanging out with us for this little interview. I want to give you the floor, though. One, make sure to let fans know where they can find you, and then anything you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can find me on @TypicalGamer on everything. My icon outfit's in the item shop right now. Go pick it up. Code TypicalGamer, @Anthony Parker. And I'm excited to see everybody at the live event in person tonight. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, TG.
Fight this though, huh?
Congrats again, man.
Thank you so much, Steve. Have a great day.
You too, bro. Man, TG, it's sick, bro. It's sick.
TG is such a legend. I actually have a story about TG. For the people who don't know, way back in the day, there used to be a bundle in the game. It was called the Level 2K Tackle Time Bundle. And I remember there was a clip of TG. This was back when everybody wanted to see, him get in the game. And he's
Ja, weil ich Kicks for Brainrot gespielt habe.
And I was like, oh, TG, thanks for watching growing up. And like, my dad's like, I confronted him about it, when I saw him for the first time. And he did apologize to me and said he does love him. So I respect it. I'm glad he finally got in the game himself because he deserves it more than, and that guy's been super shout out.
We can say it back to him now. Who's the TG guy?
Ich war schon mal in dieser Halle.
He's a good competitive player as well. I remember playing with Noah W. Plays a few seasons ago. They made like heat semi-finals, like that sort of stage competition. Pretty good competitive for that player as well. So definitely holding a few skills in that locker as well as the icon.
Yeah, man, it's so awesome. Congrats again, TG. Love that you got the icon. If you guys want that, go check it out. It's in the item shop. Once again, congratulations. And also, you hold out your skill. Hey, come hang out. You might be able to meet and greet. Say, what's up, TG? Give a big high five. Say, I'm going to use your pickaxe. All right, guys, let's get ready, though, and focus back into the competition. What are we excited to see, right? We're now halfway with 3 games left to go. And I feel like if I'm outside of that top 25,
Ich habe mir Düsseldorf heute nicht angeguckt. Mache ich wahrscheinlich auch morgen nicht. Morgen werde ich mal lange schlafen. Ich weiß aber nicht, ob ich kann. Ich bin die Nacht um 2 ins Bett gegangen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not know who's outside of that top 25. I'm really curious if there's any big surprises. I think initially the first name that's jumping out to me ages.
Und um 5:30 wieder aufgestanden.
We saw them have a good start, right? I was really surprised by how good they had done after game 1, but they fell, and that is not where you want to see them.
I'm looking at Pixie and Swinzy as a team that a lot of people are looking at going into this.
Reason ist 22. und Flicky, die sind auch Deutsche, sind glaube ich auf 21. Das wollte ich sagen. Ich war schon mal in Düsseldorf ich habe schon mal in Düsseldorf so gesehen. Ist schon cool.
Clicks and Higgs, 35th. That is not where they want to be. The past 2 games, Shark and TD have given them that work of sport. And it's not necessarily what we were expecting, especially after how impressive they've done in the practice games yesterday. But Shark and TD reminding Clicks and Higgs, we are top dogs in the server, off spawn, wherever you want to find us.
And if you think about it, you could almost say going into this weekend, they had 2 plans. It was either land for Beerhall or it was land for Shark and TD. If they now think, let's go to plan B, it's now landing on Peter. Plan B to have. So do they have plan C, do they have plan D? We'll have to wait and see about that. And I think this is the point of the tournament scene where you have to sort of categorise yourself as a team. It's like, right, are we a team that's trying to break into that top 25? If so, how do we go about doing that? If you're a team that's already in the top 25, how do we hold on to that position? Do we take as many risks? If you're a team that's in that top 25 comfortably for Sunday, how do we then condition the rest of them?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, looking at this 41st to 50th, and there's too many, Brazilian teams, Middle Eastern teams. I want to see some of these smaller regions regions really sort of pushed them in. One of the most exciting parts of Summit for me was the 15 qualification spots. This was the best chance, but this still is the best chance we have had in a long time to see a lot more of the teams from those regions take up some of the global championship spots, and I think it'd be a shame to see them finish it.
Yeah, man.
Jetzt kommen sie alle wieder.
There is so much pressure.
Da unten kommen sie alle wieder.
You could kind of say like, all right, maybe we take it to lower bracket, but again, if you make the same mistakes, you just have that one chance, right? And then that's it. You can't even look to compete for one of these top 15 spots. So, but yeah, as we remember, we can't forget Yappa and Hamza rather at the top leaderboard, currently leading in eliminations as well. So it's very, very difficult to look. Yappa 12, actually, just kidding, tied with Vico. Vico.
Big Vico. Yeah, right. It's the big Vico.
My bad.
The thing we said about Vico earlier, right, is this guy is going to be best, I guess, well, showcasing it here on the stage. I think the great thing about all of these guys here is we know how great they are as fighters. In the case of Dom and Sky,
jetzt kommt Reason rein.
IGL's the leaders of that team, and they're still leading the way when it comes to the fighting. Again, it just shows how talented some of these boys are. A lot of teams, I might have to. Was this arenas? Is it like another list of something like this?
I know we were talking about completely unbiased right now. Yeah, calm down. I'm sure you guys can kind of hear it as well. You can see on camera players are starting to return back, start to take their places on that battle bus to continue the competition. And as I'm looking at some of these faces, man, I'm seeing some of them excited, happy. Others, I can tell, they've taken this time, they've really utilized this time to try and say, hey, we have a plan. We win these 3 games in that.
Yeah, we saw it in the background of those interviews. They're actually bonding. They were looking at some of their bots. They can't do it on the stage. I think some people maybe at home don't know that. You can't sit and watch the bots after you go out of the game. So that's going to be some vital time to not only do that, maybe talk to some of their mental coaches, some of their in-game coaches, well, even some parents, just people to help you calm down a little bit, particularly if you are a team that's lower down on that leaderboard. This section of the tournament is really where the experienced players, the players that have played on this sort of stage before, will now come good because they're able to utilize that time really, I think.
Yeah, I think for a lot of teams, especially when it's further down, a lot of it's going to come down to looking for opportunities within the lobby area. Is there any way we can come? Is there any way we can get an advance on some of these teams that have been getting their band on us around where we land?
3,5 Minuten, dann geht's weiter.
All you need is a really good game for some of these teams just on the outside, right? So this will make it happen.
Yeah, you can't forget as well, if you're a team like Yappa or currently seeing first place, you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, better.
Ruger hat sich ja diesmal nicht qualifiziert. Danke für das Like, er macht das 25. voll. Kommt schon, er macht das 25. Like voll.
It can make a difference. I mean, that's something that you were talking about earlier, like conditioning. Easier said than done, though, because I think you have to identify whether you are a team that's actually guaranteed to modify through before trying to be too crazy like that. But you're right, it's something that those sort of teams, Yappa and Hamza will be looking at. How do we now condition the rest of the lobby so that we have a potentially easier run on Sunday?
We've seen a couple of teams say before the tournament started. There were a couple of players who said, I think I saw it in the game like Shark and Team, and Shark was saying to Clix, if we are in a ball spot and you're not, we don't care about the rest of the game. We're just making sure you don't qualify. And that becomes a very scary prospect if you are a team in a similar situation, which there are a couple of teams in that spot right now.
Use that example, right? Today's are thinking, okay, so game 1, hey, we got it. It took a long time for we wiped them, and now game 2, we come back, they clap back instantly, like, what the heck? We have 3 games to try and put something together. And again, like, think about that day 2. Think about that lower bracket. Even if we use the same example.
Yapko und Panzer führen. Colt ist Zweiter.
Right? They suddenly dropped down in the lower bracket. Well, their plans have changed. Maybe someone else is looking to come to Wonky. Maybe someone in the lower bracket says, hey, wait a minute. If they come down into the lower bracket, maybe we would be willing to contest Wonky, right? And that's just one duo left. How many other duos are kind of waiting for that opportunity in the lower bracket?
I think there are a few. I think based on what we've seen, just when I talk John Brooks on continue, I don't think anybody will brackets are going to these guys. You might want to understand. So I think it just goes to show what you do here, even if you are in a secure spot, still doesn't matter. Like you said, for those teams, you ward them away and say, okay, you pull up our low bracket tomorrow, stay clear of the opposing fans. They are not the ones who want to fight. They are going to have. That's what you want to do in this low bracket.
And remember, the players that do end up dropping down to low bracket, it's extra scary for them. It's not just who they're contesting, who's in their drop spot. It's also, you genuinely don't know what the rest of that lobby is looking like. Yeah, you know you have 25 teams that are already in that lobby, but there'll be some teams, of course 25 of them, on this stage that will also be in that lobby as well. So you just cannot plan for anything in advance for that lower bracket lobby. So you just want to make it through here. If you miss this opportunity, it's going to be such a loss.
Yeah, like, for a lot of these guys, you just don't want to even put yourself in that situation. Shark and Tini, look, Shark's first time on a stage like this, I think everybody was curious as to whether they can crumble. You know, without pressure on him. I'm trying my best to speak to him a bunch throughout, the days we've been here, and he's adamant. Every time I speak to him, he's adamant. They're not fine. Like, it's like...
Jetzt kommt gerade Amar rein und alle schreien Amar.
Okay, I'm perfectly fine. And we know Tini has done this many times before. I'm happy that they didn't let that first game rattle them completely. They were able to reset, switch up the tempo, and start winning.
Yeah, that's kind of like the cool part about the other bracket, right? It's like it is in a situation where like, hey, well, day one, and you're gonna have day one and day two, kind of 12 games to kind of collectively, see how they go. It's like, well, day one, you've got 6 games to just be in the top 25.
And to be honest, you don't really want to be thinking about day 2. This is a big argument here. Because day 2 is the lower bracket. They don't get much easier. You've got top teams in that lobby. You've got guys like Fionazo and Josh waiting there, it's almost like a hungry bear. Chinese guys told you, hey, there's a hungry bear in that forest. You want to go in that forest? Yeah, that's how you go. You don't want to go there, right? And it's the same thing with the lower bracket. You don't want to go there where these guys are waiting. They're hungry for an opportunity. Those were the guys who did well with the second chance. They took that chance pretty well, and they will take it tomorrow if you aren't careful and if you slip up. So you have to make it in these next few games.
Yeah, you're right. All those teams have performed when their backs are against the walls, and that's exactly what's going to be happening now tomorrow.
Ja, alle gucken, was sie für ein Skill spielen.
Oh, if we don't do well today, we've always got tomorrow, because you cannot rest on that whatsoever. So for those teams that are outside, I'm really excited to see what Flex Skates do now. I genuinely don't know what the solution is for them, particularly now that Sharkatini is starting to come into it. They're looking really good. How are they going to roll back their gameplay? Do they switch up their entire drop spot? Do they end up landing on Peter? We haven't seen those guys having an amazing performance so far today. How are they going to get contested? Is it worth wasting a game to try and contest them? It's going to be tough to say, but it's been a fantastic day of competition so far. This is when things really start to be tough.
What's interesting too, and I love like
Leute, was geht? Lass gerne mal ein Like da.
The more you think about this,
Wer macht die 25 voll?
the crazier it gets, right? This is upper bracket is double-edged sword, right? You come in, you kind of show off maybe some of your strategies, some of your plans. But you got to be thinking back with that in your mind. Well, there's those 25 viewers are watching you day one.
Danke fürs Like.
Myself mentally trying to play and show that I can be in the top 25 day one. Oh, I missed it. Now I'm going into day 2 and everyone's looking at you like, hey, I just watched your entire day yesterday.
Yeah.
Those things that you might have tried to do yesterday, I've already come up with an opportunity to strike back.
And then you can think of it in the other way. It's like, is it more valuable to get the experience on the stage, to play day 1, to look back at where things are going wrong? Or is it more valuable to watch what happened in day 1 and look back at those goals?
I'm very happy to see this duo looking strong, looking good. Again, close to that threshold, but no reason. If you've been watching them in AU of late over the past couple months, even the past couple of years, it feels like they always just sort of teeter around that line, really, where they're almost there, and in the last couple of games, they make a final big push and then qualify. And I think it's a good chance to see that happen today.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we're looking, at Reason as one of the really consistent land performers. He's been slowly but surely improving each one of these lands that he's qualified.
Yeah.
So it's actually nice to see him in this position and hopefully doing the same on Sunday, because his trajectory has just only been going up.
Weiß ich auch, wo Reason sitzt.
Every single FNCS match,
sitzt links von den ganzen
every
Leuten.
single one, his placement has improved and improved and improved. Is that trend going to continue, or is the reason one we want money 2 months like now? You don't even care about it compared to like, oh God, he seems to suggest, he seems to suggest, he's using the map to keep his skills sharp and performing at the best level.
He wants to win. He's one of us. He wants to win. I think that's going to be only make it to sort of take the chains off a little bit in terms of what we want that will hopefully, help improve as well. But he's gonna be really confident this weekend, especially since he's just been performing so well on that.
Yeah, and you gotta think too, in front of a crowd like this, on the turf, like, there's even that little bit.
Bei dem Pokal kann man die Krone abnehmen.
These situations are so complex. I know sometimes you kind of look at a situation like this, well, yeah, top 5 easy or whatever, upper bracket, lower bracket, finals, okay, cool. But the more you just start to dissect and really dive into these little tiny details, it just very quickly gets out of control. Now, of course, like we said, this is the halfway point. 3 games left to go. Boys, we got to give advice to these duos. Outside of that bubble, what's the advice?
I think stick to what you know for this next game. You don't want to try and get too crazy. But if it does come down to those final 2 games, even the final game, go for height. The meta allows for it. Although it is messy, you could be that team that takes height into game. We saw it with Sky Strong jumping up 30 places. But the teams that are just outside here are probably not worth it. But just try something different. Try something new. Because yes, you do have day 2, but you want to get it done now.
Mini says, stick to what you know. Here we go. I say, pick up the game plan, rip it out, and try something new. Let's go crazy. Let's get wild with it. You don't need the 2 good games.
Okay, well, Levin, it's time to find out which plan they're going with, because the next game is ready for some captains for you.
Hey, I'm right there with you, Lennon. I think you gotta tear the original game plan to pieces at this stage, because they don't have much time left to work with. It's only 3 lobbies, and the margins are very slim for error right now.
I'm sticking with me, Miner. I've said it multiple times before. I like sticking to what you know.
What if it doesn't work? What if you're in that game 5, game 6 situation? I agree with Levin that you might have to just kind of throw it all to the wall, leave no stone unturned, and really leave no regrets behind. There's nothing to lose. The second half of the day, game 4 is ready, so let's jump right in.
In that 35th position currently, just outside of the top 25. Granted, Titans will have already proven one good match, one strong elimination counter can change course entirely and catapult you to that threshold you need to just go straight to finals.
Now we got another team joining back in the mix. They may have left at least 1 game before, but Mini PO and Fukun are back at Sandy Strip, so we're back on over for a triple contested fight. Interesting enough, it really hasn't affected Kanata and Victor B on that other side.
Yeah, taking our quadrants there. Quick little peek over here towards Monkey Land. Clicks and Higgs, they got to be feeling the pressure during the halftime. I got the opportunity to talk to Clicks. He was like, yeah, we're fully aware of the situation. It feels like Shark and Team are already qualified. They can pretty much do whatever they want to us right now because they got to be feeling comfortable.
And that's exactly where Shark and TV are headed. It is setting up home base here in Wonderland to try and prevent Higgs and Clicks from having those comeback measures. Still, job's not finished. You have to remember that because of the lower bracket's existence, nothing is necessarily solidified just yet. You still have tomorrow, worst case scenario.
Yeah, all you have nothing to lose. You don't want to give up on those opportunities. Both those spring just outside of the bubble as well. Testify against Virtual and Brave. Both the teams perform phenomenally on their respective regions, but when you're in a contested fight like this, they honestly made some changes before the Summit land, and it wasn't necessarily the best for a contested fight, so you really got to go ahead and get all of the loot to yourselves.
I'm going to be a hog when we're taking a look at all these POVs as we do. Take a look at the elimination feed. Oh, does go down. On the screen, we've got Volko, we've got Fringe, both picking up their respective eliminations, and that's going to be a clean win for them. An 8-point swing is going to put them on 50 points. And remember, take a look at the leaderboard, right? That 25th place threshold was right around there. So that's going to be helping them out tremendously.
Well, it looks like a decent amount of teams that weren't necessarily faring their best here have already decided to try and switch things up. But Clicks, Higgs, still entangled here with Shark and Teeny, who have decided to take the fight straight to them. They want to be direct. They've had so much success in these past 2 lobbies. The moment that they instantly tried to collapse, but now it's Shark 100 bomb. That's going to be all of his shield. He has to fall back. He's waiting for Teeny to take the reins here, but Teeny Teeny having to learn strategy, trying to see if he can find a separate angle, trying to see if he can get that closing shot onto Clicks or Higgs. But right now, the leverage sits entirely with Higgs and Clicks.
Even though Shark and Teeny almost all but qualified here to Sunday, you can kind of see why they're just trying to shut down Clicks and Higgs. Not let them feel comfortable. Get them out of the game early so that way they have a much harder chance making it through the lower bracket and eventually possibly contesting them. So it's really going to come down to how much Shark and Teeny want to continue to put this pressure down. On the flip side though, for Clicks and Higgs, I was talking to a couple of the coach streamers myself, from Boom to Faxity and Ozzy, to where it's like, what does Clicks and Higgs need to do? And right now, we kind of all were agreeing. You either need to fight Shark and Teeny, or you just need to run away. Right now, it looks like they're going to fight Shark and Teeny.
Absolutely, they do have the position as they start to kind of get out from the boxes that they have been sitting in for so long. They now officially have the high ground. Teamy's looking to take the one to Click. He gets one shot in, gets a shot on the Higgs as well. He's done so much damage. They got the advantage, but Click does get a little bit of return shot. Actually gets 58 damage to the play. Shark's going to have the advantage right now. He's going to pick up with the spray. Click is looking a little bit long. He has no material to work with. He's going to be playing zero bonus. Higgs does get knocked.
One way, but Shark and Teeny, they got him straight in the middle, and Higgs, only so many options remain here currently because Shark, he's immediately trying to get the impressive over 500 bucks, and that's going to do it. Higgs left the lobby so early in game 4.
Solve on the rules, the pickaxe into the emo. Again, Shark and Teeny are in a situation where they literally almost have nothing to lose. They are so far inside that top 25. They need multiple games of going down off spawn. Even in the replay, Clicks gets caught out of position by himself. And Higgs, even though there was an advantage in terms of HP, he just tried to work. They caught him through the build and then eventually pickaxe it back to the lobby.
Sie haben den echt gerade gepickaxt, ne? Ohne Scheiß. Gepickaxt. Profis. Wollte das nochmal live da, wer macht die 26 voll?
Still 2 opportunities left for Clicks and Higgs. The best that are taking a look at some of our other teams around the map. Reaper, Brilliant, and Jargoose. Those here towards the north. The Storm is going to be playing a part of this as it currently stands, so they're having to kind of chill out and hang out.
And also, content to get this first knock onto Rachel, but he's not finished. He's still looking to keep everything pushing forward. And Brilliant fumbles on the back. Ajax gets put into the dirt there. Double elimination pickup. It is a very quick start for some of these teams.
Yeah, this is almost like a Cinderella story for Jargoose and for Brilliant. They were literally almost not making it here. A few monster chases at the last moment, and it works out. They catch fire when they need it most. Thomas and Focus kind of doing the same things. Landing over at Riptide, they usually make their way down towards the south. But this time around, they went up north just a little bit towards Wiggly Shores, and they're still finding the picks that they need.
Nico and Valentino again, they're getting all of Frigid Fortunes themselves, but they know there are some teams surrounding them to the south. FKS and Hero are going to be finding their early demise to a team that's not too happy. They're going to make some moves in the surrounding areas. FKS just gets beamed in the open. Shields are all gone, and Nico knows exactly how to play aggressive. He knows the mechanics of Fortnite so well, he instantly gets in and finishes that one off.
And part of that was just a little bit of a hiccup at the starting point there.
Oh, der erste ist tot und der dritte ist auch tot.
To try and salvage their starting point.
Das könnte mal die Buchhaltung die Führung übernehmen.
But they're not the only duo. It's kind of just looking up and seeing what's going to happen to this leaderboard development after game 4. iDrop and Medius dealing with Fly and Cringe currently, who are riding off the momentum of that third place victory royale.
Yeah, right now, between our top 2 players in Damage, Golden Panther, our top teams out of this lobby, this is going to allow for the players at the bottom of the leaderboard, right up to the middle, to get more points. But those guys were winning games, they were cycling out of elimination, but now Cringe is by 119. It's not necessarily a battle for first. You only want top 25, but you also want to push your competition out. You want to beat them both in-game and mentally as well.
Establishing the idea that, I was kind of mentioning around 50 points with that 25th place. That's at the halfway point. We just kind of double that over the course of the next 3 games. You can kind of expect that threshold to be around 100 points.
look at this, just the package. Anybody that finds himself anywhere north, near the southwest side of the map, just gets learned on his focus, is going to be on the receiving end of that one.
And the big thing here, the one word that's sticking out to me right now is what Levin highlighted on the desk: conditioning. Curve and Venom. They haven't necessarily ran the same thing back twice, but they are trying to condition this lobby to not be able to anticipate where it is they're looking to set up base. They're pushing out into riptides, they're pushing the south sections of South Boulevard, and it's just very difficult for these teams to find their footing and focus. Thomas, so strong competitors, but Venom is just going to immediately send the lights out there for Thomas. They're now waiting to see whether or not they even are aware of the fact that Darman Dimas should be behind.
Yeah, Darman Dimas probably watching the feed. Thomas, focus, they go down. Well, that's riptides. They immediately made their way on over, and they're pulling a play out of the Venno playbook. They're curving on curve, and Venno, they're just trying to make sure that if they make a mistake, they're going to be there to answer the call. And you can see, when it comes to materials, they're good. It's the bandages that worry me out of Darman. You can see why he's even trying to rotate on those riptides. They wanted the mending machine, when they get damaged, that's the cherry on top.
And that's all they were really looking for. You can see how long they waited for Kurt Venom to kind of retreat for them to actually go ahead and open up a shot from there. They didn't really want them to be close. They were just interested in getting some of that damage. The elimination were not really on their mind. They're just kind of playing it safe, making sure they can kind of find themselves in the end game. Venom and Curve got to be feeling pretty good about how they are doing so far in this game. And Sky and Scroll, as pointed out by the man himself earlier on, continuously find themselves in bases around Battlewood. They're just up on these little hills over here, right? All they're interested in doing is getting as many tags as they possibly can without taking any damage.
Still, going to take some time here because the real winning moment for Sky and Scroll was just finding themselves jumping up so many placements on the leaderboard. And Rico, Alabuca, they're not content with what they've been able to accomplish so far here today. They're looking to be very safe in terms of top 25, but still, they want more. They want to take out as much opposition as possible because they don't want to allow anyone that they might view as being interested in what they have up for grabs at their starting point on the map. Yuma, where a little bit of a question mark surrounding this duo because we know that they've been kind of trying to infiltrate Dark Dominion, but it's difficult to control this PR.
Especially when you got Vico and Malibu, a team that's on fire, hunting you down. They got that first elimination, and they made sure to keep pressure onto Yuma by himself. And just really keep note, because Swizzy and Pixie are also in Dark Dominion, and they made sure to keep the fight contained underneath where they knew no third party had a chance.
But as soon as the elimination comes in, Battlewood just stalls out, holds that right hand peak. He knows that somebody's around him. I have no idea how he has that information, but Vico and Battlewood, they look scary as it looks like they have one thing in mind, just to play aggressive. And somebody that's kind of came out this weekend on Friday and is looking pretty comfortable with 116 points. It's Kanata and Victor G.
They definitely got to be feeling really good about their current state. They know that they're not necessarily at a huge risk of falling outside of that top 25, but you still want to keep things pretty tidy. You still want to ensure that you see the whole mission through and are on that battle bus for finals come Sunday.
Yeah, and you got to think about a team like this, Victor B and Kanata. Victor B, kind of a young superstar, especially on NA West. He really got his first shot playing with these kind of known players with Paper. The next year, he played with Paper and Epicwell, qualified for the Global Championship in both of those respective tournaments through NA West. And now he was playing with another player in Kanata, bringing out the best. And I've said it for years, Victor B has the potential to be one of the superstars in NA. He just needs to be playing with the upper echelon players, bringing him out of it. The potential, and I do think Kanata is that player that's been doing such a good job. He called that I'm going to NA West, I'm not really going to win, it's going to be a cakewalk, and that's exactly what we saw.
A couple of our teams still stranded out in the storm, right? We saw Cammy and Ari. They're kind of making their way over here in the high drop of Ari as they're also still in the storm again. I'm always looking towards those points. 40 for the duo right now, which puts them surely outside of contention as the team top right 30 here. It surely does. So there's actually a lot of pressure on them right now. Look, no surprise, Meadow and Curve crouched once again.
Evan Hunker trying to see if they can creep up on anybody unexpectedly over by Battlewood Boulevard, but there's no room for stopping iDrop and Metis. Seems like they were able to pick up what they were after. They were trying to camp out that tunnel, hoping that somebody would opt to try and see if they could actually head through it. And the patience has paid off dividends here because they're just getting cut off, but it's pretty teeny that iDrop actually finds overhead.
Yeah, that's got to be a big boost of confidence, taking down kind of the team that's just kind of taking over EU for the most part, saying that Eastleaf is kind of smaller there as well, but I'm talking about the new gen teaming up with Shark 46 above the damage threshold, and Shark is in a position here so he can't necessarily play for the reboot, even though we are rotating on over towards Battlewood Boulevard. Vivid, Tom, you guys know as well as I do, once you hear it where he's starting the reboot and eventually pops off, everybody looks your direction.
It worked for the zone. It seemed like Sky and Troll just moved for the first time throughout the entire game. They were still in that box. I'm sure they're going to be max materials because just that little bit of a tower they had, it was like too high. They used nothing on it. They were able to sit there for the entirety of the early game. They got to be feeling pretty good, especially with the fact that the zone is landed in their home.
See, that might be a new view for you two, but I know already you made the finals. That was one of the most familiar scenes to anticipate from Sky and Troll, but Jonas Veloz, we get that ball rolling here. X1, unfortunately, not going to be able to push back, and Jonas will find elimination, but you need more than elims at this phase. You need to start converting those into strong placements to really play leapfrog with the leaderboard.
Yeah, relying on elims means you just kind of rely on the steamroll the lobby. And I think in game one, we saw that early Peter Pot really kind of thinking it was going to be an easy fight, kind of going down early. Chapter 50 rotating on over. A rather safe rotation for the most part. They're 500 above the damage threshold, but they're using these dips inside of Battlewood Boulevard to get natural terrain so that teams can secretly swerve on them or get shots, but they make it to inside of the zone. There's already 1, 2, 3, 4 teams waiting for them on the other side.
Yeah, that's what makes it so tough sometimes. When these zones are so far away from you, you have to rotate in anybody that's already kind of set up. Even without Luka, once again, going for the elimination, basically because they know exactly what's kind of going on here. They go ahead and pick up an easy elimination in regards to wow. Establish that Shark for eliminations of the zone. He's a solo, and he just picked up 2.
Gerald and Mason didn't stand a chance against Shark's combination there, but 255 above, he got enough wiggle room to at least box up momentarily, restore his shields with these last couple bloods, but more importantly still, the solo points that he's actually been able to build. Normally you wouldn't want to make it all off of healers, but when you got 5 to your name, it does make a difference after they've already had strong performance from these last couple of lobbies. Just making it off spawn seems to be the difference maker.
Gets the memo there in that moment. All the lobby does. They see him out as a solo. They got to put pressure. Mini Pito's the first one to fall. FaZe is there. He peeks through the Fizz. Gets the elimination on the 1. This is looking like a god right now. For Shark, just lost the stage off his list. And I'm getting that old Peter Buck feeling appears fast. Like, yeah, he's solo, but for some reason, I'm not worried.
Shark, and look at him, he is still in the mix of things right now. He could go ahead and take a backseat ride if he has here in the late game, but he's looking to still get active. If you think about it, he really does need to. 35 bills left in his game, but I'm looking at that HP that he has left. He has nothing in his inventory that can go ahead and help support them there. Take a look at the other side of your screen. I've got Mares there under pressure right now. Storm Surge is striking. He's going to try to make something happen. He goes down 44 points to his game.
Nico might have heard he was leading in elimination their time, and now he's like, I want to be first place instead, but now the group is still looking to play catch up, and even still, Shark, all by his lonesome, but the way that he's playing, he's got the confidence of 2 behind him. It's evident in all of his movements. He's going to get an opportunity to try and replenish some of his loadout off of these vending machines, but Triple might strike when you least expected, and now Luka have just been completely causing so much chaos in this lobby. Finally, going to catch a little bit of punishment for it. Slightly greedy with the wraparound. Looking to not torp it out fully. They were spotted, lit up a bit, but still 712 above. They don't care about the surge.
Yeah, even if they go down here, I All but 100% got their spot secured. 200 points, almost leading the pack. If they win this game, that would definitely be certain. You see Peter Boyo shockwave on the front side of the zone. You see Regan Cooper elevated on one of those electrical wires. Everybody's just really pushing themselves to the limit. They realize, yes, we don't go home today. We can't get eliminated, but this is the best shot we got at making finals.
Hard there, still making the solo punch kind of match, and the 18 built to work, but he's completely fine. It comes 80 down. Oh my God, the entire Luke Mama just dropped right in front of him. He's going to be able to do that on the outside. Pablo is also a solo, and it's a completely different scenario. 133 for low, he's got to make something happen soon.
Just waiting for the zone to keep closing in. Backside the zone, he might be able to find some other players that are struggling just as much as himself. Only he's hoping that he'll be able to eliminate them first. Darkness has been
Jetzt geht's rund.
Another one of our
Der Bot lebt noch.
looking for a big time performance here. They want to see just how far in leaderboard they can jump. And Pete and Boyo, well, things have been a little bit slow today. They're looking to amp it up now. Oh, Alex been dropped. And now Pete and Boyo looking for the biggest refreshes, but they don't necessarily need them.
A complete anomaly. Peter Boyo going into 8 zone with 0 elimination, but finally they pick up the one that they gave to continue the run here. You see the hunt is on. They're continuing to look back towards the rotating side of the zone. They want to start to ramp up the eliminations.
Yeah, they're probably realizing at this stage of the game, early game eliminations might not need as much as just having consistent performances throughout the end game. But Regan Cooper, they get contested on the high ground. Cyan and Scary are now in the clouds. They will look down and put pressure on the rest of the lobby and even find the elimination onto Cooper.
It's the last thing you want to see if you are in Regan's position, but Pete just lost Boyo, turning back, realizes that he's still getting impressed by the rest of the lobby. That immediate focus moving towards against him, but Pico, Malabuca now, front side low. They're waiting to see just who they can actually snag up here. But first, Pico breaking out wishes. Peter Bond still playing the low side, but see Malabuca doesn't get a chance to try the shot. He comes straight to him, and that's what he found. Instead that Pete converts into an elimination, he needed that material.
The lobby's got to put a stop to Peter Bond very quickly. When he gets rolling, it's hard to stop that guy. After this to help him do it for not an extra beat. They're going to take it hold of the big gun right now.
Leute, der macht das 26. Like rein.
Nico finds his demise. Gap Peter's now going to have the low round plate for himself.
Peter Bond now, the dope bill is forced to down low, getting as much as he can out of the bin, but it's only so much before Sky Storm run him down for eliminations here. Just like I was speaking on Golden Rap a few games ago, Sky Storm would be one of those first teams with multiple wins here. Bahari, Danny, they have 4 eliminations as well. They're starting to catch fire in this perfect moment. Top 7 situation. There's only 2 solos running around right now, and Kanata's one of them.
Kanata, he'll be forced to fall back to his last night's pizza. He knows that he got a team looking straight out of it. Sky and Scroll refusing to budge. They're going to force Kanata to take a different route entirely. Ducati now left as a solo. 4 eliminations already, just trying to look down on the teams that are underneath where he's currently situated, doing his best to crunch around. But Silas and Scary are still holding down height. Finally, they'll be forced to converge with the rest of the lobby here.
Yeah, I started to feel the pressure. They felt like they were too high. They wanted to get into the mix. They dropped all the way down. They looked for the shot. Sky and Skull are going to be amongst the duo that's going to get tagged right there. They have the ass and take the shot. This is exactly what they need. With the solo in the mix, trying to call chaos. It's going to be Davis. They cannot find the shot. Sky goes to go.
Schon wieder ein anderer Gewinner.
Congratulations! Complete Sada Science Scary Show. Here is the number. Düsseldorf, please give it up for Scary Show! You can see there's sunshine waving in the audience. What's it like to take a victory royale on your first ever lap?
Yeah, it looks like really nice to win a victory royale. We knew we were going to win, like, it was so easy. It's easier than a big one in Europe.
Easier than you thought it was going to be. And then we're sitting next to the do know though that you can take it from Reed and Cooper because that was an incredible challenge.
I mean, we also, they were like kind of lost, so we just use a software and we get everything out.
But I mean, you did eliminate Reed in order to take the high ground from them. What is next for you guys now? Because with a performance like that, you have to be qualified for Sunday. Do you think it's going to be so easy